Hello everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about UFC number 270. Now my name is Darren Leach. I've been practicing Krav Maga for 3 years, and when I was younger I practiced Taekwondo for 2 years, and right now I'm currently working on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by following my Matt Serra video tutorial that I bought online. Totally worth a copy if you're looking for a way to learn some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Matt Serra is an absolute genius. Now, let's talk about the UFC 270 card. Okay, so the first fight of the night is going to be a middleweight bout between Rodolfo Vieira and Wellington Turman. They're both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialists, and Wellington Turman has a little bit of an experience edge for him. I'm giving the edge to Wellington Turman, and I'm betting $10 that Wellington Turman takes it. We will see what happens. As for fight number 2, that's a bantamweight bout between Cody Stamann and Said Nurmagomedov. As far as that fight goes, I think always put your money on the Nurmagomedov. I'm putting $10 on Said Nurmagomedov to win. As for fight number 3, that's a welterweight bout between Michel Lima and Andre Fialho. This is my wild card bet. I'm betting the wild card bet on Andre Fialho. When it comes to fight number 4, the flyweight title bout between Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo, I'm going to have to pick Brandon Moreno to keep his title. It's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert versus a wrestler, and as far as that goes, I always think that the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert is going to find a way to do the anti-wrestling equation and figure out a way to put a wrestler in a submission. So I'm hoping that my $20 bet on Brandon Moreno works out. As for the main event of the evening, the one that everybody has been talking about, these two big giant monsters, Kong versus fucking Godzilla, I'm gonna have to pick Francis Ngannou. Just the way he made an example of the champion before him, it just seemed like he walked right through. However though, never count out Cyril Gane, because he is a Muay Thai specialist, and a good leg kick can be the difference between landing that one-punch knockout blow and not landing it. As far as that goes, there is Selkirk's 5 picks for UFC 270. I know it's going to be a great show. I hope you all buy the pay-per-view like I'm chipping in with my buddy. I'm going to this place and we're fucking going to buy it on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be excellent. Y'all take care and thank you for listening.
Good morning. So yesterday's fights were pretty good. That UFC 270, Turman didn't actually end up fighting, so I ended up getting my bet money back. Fialho didn't end up winning, so I lost $10 there. And when it came to that Nurmagomedov thing, I was right. Nurmagomedov won almost like instantly. And as for Moreno versus Figueiredo ended up winning that one. Good for him. That's awesome. And as for Ngannou versus Gane, by the end of the fight, it looked like Ngannou was just like, please go by there. Please go by there. And then when they called his name, it was like, oh, thank God. So it was a pretty close fight. Like, it could have went either way, but I think the takedowns won Ngannou the fight overall. But as for like my betting results go, like here's my betting results. I got really lucky, and hopefully I'll get just as lucky next time. But as far as betting goes, sometimes all your bets won't make it, and sometimes all your bets will make it. But as far as that goes, just on any given day, anybody can win. And good job, Ngannou, and good job, Nurmagomedov. Respect. And Moreno was robbed from that title. Like, the stats were totally in Moreno's favor, but it was just that one takedown that made Figueiredo win the whole thing. But respect. Thanks for listening.
Hello everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about UFC 271, Adesanya versus Whitaker Part 2, and Selkirk's 5 winners to bet on. I've selected 5 bouts to gamble on. Now the key word there is gamble. This is all a gamble, and these are my 5 selections for UFC 271. Fight number 1. When it comes to the women's flyweight bout between Roxanne Modafferi versus Casey O'Neill, I believe that Casey O'Neill is on her way to the top. She has a current winning streak of 8. She has no losses. I think she's going to burn through the women's division. However, I'm a huge Roxanne Modafferi fan. If you want the winner, I think you should bet on Casey O'Neill, but I personally am putting my $20 on Roxanne Modafferi to finish her career on top. Fight number 2. When it comes to the bantamweight bout between Kyler Phillips and Marcelo Rojo, I believe that Marcelo Rojo does have that one hit, one punch kind of knockout power, but I believe that Kyler Phillips is going to take this bout. I am betting $20 on Kyler Phillips. Fight number 3. When it comes to the middleweight bout between Jared Cannonier versus Derek Brunson, I'm going to have to side on Derek Brunson here, but they're so evenly matched that I'm going to make this one my wild card event, and we are going to flip a coin literally for the winner, and who I'm going to bet 20 bucks on. We'll put heads, that'll be Jared Cannonier, and tails, that'll be fucking Derek Brunson. We'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens right now. I am betting $20 on Derek Brunson. Fight number 4. When it comes to the heavyweight bout between Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa, as much as I would love to see Tai Tuivasa drink a bunch of beer out of people's shoes and stuff like that again, I'm gonna have to bet my $20 on the powerhouse Derek Lewis. Fight number 5. When it comes to the middleweight title bout between Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker Part 2, I'm done with these trilogies, man. As far as this goes, this is fucking Goku versus Vegeta, and I want Goku to fucking put Vegeta in his place, and I want this fucking feud to end. I hope that Israel Adesanya takes it and he fucking wins. I am betting my $20 on Israel Adesanya. And that right there is Selkirk's 5 picks for UFC 271. Now I just want to answer one question before I go. Does Francis Ngannou deserve more money? Fuck no. Francis Ngannou knew what he was getting into when he signed that contract, and now he's the heavyweight champion of the world. Whenever a heavyweight champion of the fucking world is like, oh, I deserve more money, it makes me go like, you know, I don't need this guy's autograph, you know, whatever, he's gonna be like, he's gonna be gone eventually, and blah, 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 stuff like that. But like, as far as like Francis Ngannou deserving more money, nah, man, he knew what he was getting into. If Francis Ngannou wants more money, here's what he should do. He should take the money that he earns from every UFC fight that he has, and he should invest it in something wisely. He should literally go to a bank and approach a professional fucking accountant and a professional fucking investor and figure out what exactly to invest in so that he can actually make it rich in the long run, which, I mean, he's already rich. He's just being greedy as far as that UFC contract goes. Does Francis Ngannou deserve more money? Fuck no. You gambling degenerates and MMA junkies out there, those are my bets for UFC 271. If your bet sounds a little bit different than mine, please let me know below in the comments who you're betting on, who you think is going to win, which round, what kind of knockout, submission, KO, technical knockout, are we going to have a decision? What do you think is going to happen in UFC 271? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for listening. Okay, so my UFC 271 outcome of my bets and predictions. Here's what happened with my bets and predictions. So when Roxanne Modafferi was fighting fucking Casey O'Neill won that one. You know, good on Casey, but it was like I said that Casey was going to win, but I also said that I was betting on Roxanne Modafferi because I'm her fan, and I'm totally still her fan. And as far as that goes, like, she retired and everything yesterday, which was totally awesome. She's still like one of the greatest females to ever be in the sport, I believe. She's a true warrior. She's a true champion to a certain extent and all that stuff. Even though she didn't win her last fight, it was great to see her last fight. And then the Kyler Phillips one, I actually won that one. So I feel great for winning that one because, you know, a couple points up. I know I should have bet on Casey O'Neill because I was like, okay, she's on a hot streak and all that stuff seemed like a sure thing, but I had to bet on Roxanne Modafferi last time. But this Kyler Phillips one, though, that was cool. I was really lucky to win that one. I cannot remember what happened with the Kyler Phillips and Marcelo Rojo match, though. Like, I'll post what the decision is right here. Yeah, that's what happened. And then as for Jared Cannonier and Derek Brunson, you know, I kind of saw it coming. Like when I saw the Jared Cannonier versus Derek Brunson match, like later on in the match, you could see Jared Cannonier kind of like figuring Derek Brunson out. And then once Jared Cannonier figured out Derek Brunson, that's when Jared Cannonier unleashed hell and just knocked Derek Brunson out. Like it was a good match, and it was a really good match. And then the heavyweight bout, I bet on Derek Lewis because I'm a Derek Lewis fan. That's another one. Like I gotta stop being a fanboy when I make my bets. But there's two bets here that I made that were fanboy bets. That was Roxanne Modafferi and Derek Lewis, right? Like, but as for the Derek Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa match, like Tai Tuivasa, like really impressive, like really impressive. Like I said this after I saw the match, I was like, Tai Tuivasa should fucking get like a title shot and stuff like that. Like seriously, like that was a really impressive match. Like because Derek Lewis literally had fucking Tai Tuivasa on the ground, and he was like his head was like bouncing up and down and stuff like that. You could see Tai kind of smiling a bit, but like Derek Lewis almost had him. I swear to God that Derek Lewis was like being almost overly confident. Okay, he's on the ground. I got him. All I got to do is hit him a couple more times. But like, and then Tai Tuivasa got back up and he ended up fucking winning. You know what I mean? That big elbow at the end there that Tai Tuivasa gave Derek Lewis was pretty amazing. Like, even though Tai Tuivasa cost me $7, I really respect him as a fighter. And like, that was a really good, entertaining fight. I love that match. Now, as for Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker, I did bet on Israel Adesanya and I won. Like my starting was like, I was going to originally bet $100, and then the Wicked Witch wrongfully evicted me. So I started to save up money for something else. So I saved that other $52 on something else. So I bet $48. And when I bet that $48, I ended up walking away with $35, which, I mean, it's not that bad overall, considering if you take into account my UFC 270 bet. Like by the end of the year, when I do all 12 numbered events or whatever of UFC for this year, like when I do all of them and bet on all of them this year, like the plan is to bet $100 per. By the end of the year, I feel, because it's gambling and this is a hobby of mine, right? Like I feel like odds are, you know, like I'll be in the red, but I fucking love gambling and I love the UFC, so I'm going to keep betting on it. But as for Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker, it was a really good, entertaining fight, I thought, because I thought, hey, like Robert Whittaker has a fucking chance here. Like if Robert Whittaker fought as hard as he did in like the last couple of rounds, you know, like I believe that maybe the fight would have turned around the other way. You know what I mean? But like Israel Adesanya's reach was harder for Whittaker to get around and all that stuff. Like, I mean, maybe his wrestling game would have kind of like affected him. You know, I mean, maybe if he took him down a couple times, but again, like that takedown defense from Adesanya was just too strong for Whittaker to overcome. But it was a really entertaining fight overall, really good card overall. Like, I wish I could have bet on it more, but like it was a good fucking night for fights. And like, I really respect Tai Tuivasa. Like, out of all the fights that fucking happened in UFC 271 there, like that Tai Tuivasa fucking fight, like I'm just like, wow, man, Tai Tuivasa. I'm a new Tai Tuivasa fan now, you know, like even though I was a fan of his drinking fucking shots out of the shoe and stuff like that, like, you know, fucking drinking beer out of people's shoes and stuff like that. Now, after seeing him knock out Derek Lewis, I'm like, okay, I'm a fan of this guy. But ultimately, I was a Derek Lewis fan. Still am a Derek Lewis fan. Respect Derek Lewis. But like, now though, like I'm really excited to see where Tai Tuivasa takes his career and things like that, and I will be looking forward to betting on the next one for UFC 272. I'm telling you right now, I'm betting on Jorge Masvidal, but that's only because I'm a Jorge Masvidal fan. You know what I mean? Like, as far as his opponent goes, like anything could happen, and whatever the odds say, like a lot of the times the odds are going to be right, but I'm definitely looking forward to this year's fights and UFC events and stuff like that. And I love watching them and all that. It's great. It's great. You know what I mean? This time around though, I had to do the whole YouTube podcast, listen to people watching the fights and stuff like that, which was like, but that's, you know, because I'm saving up money, right? Get that new place, get my life in order and all that jazz. But those were my UFC 271 bets. And I hope you had fun watching the event and all that stuff. And like, it was, you know, overall though, like that Tai Tuivasa versus Derek Lewis fight, that was the one that stuck out the most for me. Cheers to respect all you fight fans and betting junkies out there. Take care. Hello, all of you MMA fans and gambling degenerates and betting junkies. Here are my picks for UFC 272. When it comes to the heavyweight bout between Sergey Spivak and Greg Hardy, I've decided to place $20 on Sergey Spivak. When it comes to the welterweight bout between Kevin Holland and Alex Oliveira, I've decided to put $20 on Kevin Holland. And when it comes to the featherweight bout between Edson Barbosa and Bryce Mitchell, I've decided to bet on Edson Barbosa. Maybe I'm living in the past here, but when he did that wheel kick to Terry
Eli Etim. I can't even pronounce his name, but when he did that wheel kick there, I've been very impressed with Edson Barboza ever since then, and that's why I'm betting on Edson Barboza to win that fight. Now, when it comes to the catchweight co-main event between Rafael dos Anjos versus Renato Moicano, I am choosing Rafael dos Anjos to win $20 on Rafael. And then when it comes to the main event between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, I'm a huge Jorge Masvidal fan when it comes to MMA. Ever since his backyard brawls and the fact that he did that whole flying kick and like launched his femur at Ben Askren's head, and Ben Askren went down in like less than like 5 seconds. Ever since then, that's when I've been a Jorge Masvidal fan. So I've decided to put $20 on the huge underdog, and that is Jorge Masvidal. Those are my picks for the UFC 272 event on Saturday. And also I decided to make one parlay event with everybody that's around minus 200. So everybody that's expected to win, I kind of put $14 on that. My parlay bet was Sergey Spivak, Kevin Holland, and Colby Covington, because they're both at like minus 200, and that's the odds that they're giving them. So I get kind of a decent parlay back if those three work out in the way that they are predicted. But those are my UFC 272 bets. It's going to be a good event, and I hope Jorge Masvidal takes it, but we'll see. He's a huge underdog. Masvidal is kind of like, kind of getting in his golden years of his career, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, or he should be, if he's not already. But as for that goes, that's my bets for UFC 272. Thanks for watching, and enjoy.
Good morning, fight fans. I just want to say that sorry for there's sleep on my face. I'm just waking up, but here are my results that I bet on yesterday for UFC 272. Sergey Spivak, he won. I'm glad that Sergey Spivak won. I adjusted my bet. I was originally going to bet $20 on Sergey Spivak. I ended up betting $14 on Sergey Spivak, and he ended up winning me like $20.67, which isn't too bad. It's a couple bucks. Good stuff. Way to go, Sergey Spivak. Really proud of you, man. That was like, round one, right? So he dominated that fight like right off the hop kind of thing. So good for him. And then as for the Kevin Holland fight versus Alex Oliveira, Kevin Holland dominated, of course. That was great. Thank you, Kevin Holland. I bet $20 on Kevin Holland, and I got back $25.72. So he was pretty expected to win, but as far as that goes, good job, Kevin Holland. And as for Edson Barboza, oh my God. Edson Barboza versus Bryce Mitchell. Like, I never saw it coming. I never underestimated Bryce Mitchell. I know he's dangerous. I know he's a good fighter and stuff like that, but I never saw him destroying Edson Barboza so proficiently. And so it was a beat down. Like, Edson Barboza got his ass handed to him. It was like 200 shots by fucking Bryce Mitchell to fucking on Edson Barboza, and Edson Barboza only landed like 20 shots. It was crazy. But good on Bryce Mitchell. You cost me $20, but it was a good fight, right? So good job, Bryce Mitchell. Respect. And that was for the catchweight co-main event when it came to Rafael dos Anjos versus Renato Moicano. I bet on Rafael dos Anjos because he's cool but rude. TMNT reference there. But no, Rafael dos Anjos totally owned Renato Moicano. But again, Renato Moicano kept getting back up, and you got to respect a guy like that when he kept getting back up and he kept getting hurt, and like the doctors were almost about to stop it, but it was really nice of the doctor to allow it to go the full length of the fight. And it was a good fight. It was a good fight for Rafael, and respect to Renato for taking a beating and getting back up. It was really, really sweet. Now, as for the main event, what kind of was predicted happened. Colby Covington took it against Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal was just a little bit outmatched yesterday. There was 160 shots by Colby Covington or something like that, and like 60 shots or something like that by Jorge Masvidal. Something like that around those stats. Go look it up online to make sure. I don't have the stats 100% on me right now, but it was a good fight. It was just went full length decision. I thought somebody would get mad enough to knock the other out, but they all kept their composure. And when Jorge Masvidal caught Colby Covington, he had a chance to put him away, it looked like, but Jorge Masvidal took a more what's that route? More safe routes against Colby Covington instead of rushing in there and just throwing those bombs after Colby Covington was hurt, but it was a really good night overall. And as for my parlay bet, I made a okay. I won the parlay bet though. I bet on everybody who was minus 200, and I ended up winning that parlay because Spivak, Holland, and Covington won. So I basically got my money back plus $4. That was the result for
yesterday night for my bets. I bet $108 and I cashed out $112. So it was fun. It was entertaining overall. And hopefully the next UFC 273, I hope to win some money off of that. But ultimately this gambling stuff is just for entertainment. It made the fights a lot more interesting, right? But ultimately it was a good night yesterday. You know, props to Dana White for always putting on a good show. And like, of course, Bruce Buffer's the man. Great times. Okay. But that was my betting results for UFC 272. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for UFC 273.
Good morning and cheers. Here are my 5 bets for UFC 273 Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. When it comes to the women's strawweight bout between Mackenzie Dern and Tecia Torres, I believe that both can win first place in a beauty contest, but that is not what the UFC is all about. When it comes to the fight between Mackenzie Dern and Tecia Torres, I believe that Mackenzie Dern is a force to be reckoned with. She's definitely strong. She's definitely talented. She's a really great fighter, but I'm a really big Tecia Torres fan. As far as that goes, I'm going to have to put $16.25 on Tecia Torres. When it comes to the welterweight bout between Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev, I know that Gilbert Burns is strong and he's going to put up a really good fight. I mean, the guy's got a neck the size of the Selkirk water tower. But as far as like Khamzat Chimaev, he's just a force that cannot be stopped for now anyway. I believe that Khamzat Chimaev is going to take it, so I put $30 on Khamzat Chimaev. When it comes to the bantamweight title bout between Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan, part 2, I have to reflect on part 1. You know, like Petr Yan was kind of like, he was preserving his energy. He was being more patient than Aljamain Sterling. And at the same time, he had some really great leg sweeps. I thought it was really great the way he kept taking them down with those leg sweeps. And then Aljamain Sterling was putting on a lot of good pressure. He had a good couple like knees in there. There was that one flying knee. I forget what round it was. But also at the same time before round number 3, he seemed really gassed out when his coach was like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And he was like, you know, he's just kind of like breathing really heavily and all that stuff. If Aljamain Sterling was working on his cardio ever since he saw the replay, like if I saw the replay of myself, if that was me kind of thing, if that was me, I don't like playing that game when it comes to the UFC, but if that was me, I would have worked on my cardio ever since I saw that match, just so that I can kind of keep up with Petr Yan and keep the pressure up as he's been doing in the first one. If you watch the first one, you'll see that Aljamain Sterling is really talented at putting on the pressure against Petr Yan. So if Aljamain Sterling has been working on his cardio, if he's been working on that cardio extra hard, you know, doing his uphill runs and all that stuff like that, I believe that Aljamain Sterling can defend his title and keep the title instead of like that whole illegal knee that kind of like cost Petr Yan the championship in the first place. If it wasn't for that illegal knee, that whole thing where the referee was like, "Hey, he's a downed opponent. He's a downed opponent. Don't do that. Don't do that." Then he gave them the knee anyway, and that cost him the championship. Even though nobody wants to win the title that way, I know that Aljamain Sterling was like, "Hey, I won the title." So I know that he's really, really keen and really, really like he wants to keep the title, right? I know that he wants to keep the title. So I feel that he watched the replay of his first fight and that he's been working on his cardio ever since. And if I'm right, if I got that hunch right, that he's been working on his cardio, I believe that Aljamain Sterling can and will take this bout. So I'm putting $20 on Aljamain Sterling. When it comes to the main event of UFC 273, the featherweight championship title bout between Alexander Volkanovski versus Chang Sung-jung, the Korean Zombie. First of all, the Korean Zombie is a really cool nickname. You know, as far as that goes, it's super patriotic to where he comes from. And I love the zombie movies as far as that goes. Zombieland 1, Zombieland 2, Night, Dawn, Day, Walking, you know, all that stuff. I love zombies. That's fucking awesome. But as far as like his fighting career goes, though, he's a really strong guy, you know, Chang Sung-jung. He's as strong as fucking Shang Tsung from fucking Mortal Kombat. You know, in fact, I think he stole Moicano's soul there when he had the loudest uppercut I've ever fucking heard as far as that goes. Like if you watch the Moicano fight that he had, he knocked him down with like the loudest uppercut I've ever heard. I think it was right underneath the microphone in the UFC ring, you know, like right above it was like, there's the microphone there to kind of give that extra edge to the fans at home watching it. And he like knocked that fucker down right on his ass and then he finished him off like it was nothing, stole his fucking soul right in the ring, you know. So like Chang Sung-jung is the real deal. That's why he's getting the fucking title match, right? That's why he's getting the chance at the title. But I also believe in Alexander Volkanovski a lot. I believe in this guy so fucking much. The way he's like, I'm going to be champion for a long time. Like he's taking it very seriously. Every match to him is the most important match of his life. That's the way he treats it. I love that guy in terms of like his attitude. I believe that he was born to be a champion. I think that he's going to keep the championship for at least a couple more fights, you know, as far as that goes. So it's like Alexander Volkanovski is the real deal. The way he took down Katsua, the way he took down, I'm a fan of Jeremy Kennedy because he's from Surrey in BC. I'm a fan of Jeremy Kennedy, the way he conquered Jeremy Kennedy. No offense, Jeremy, don't hurt me, man. But like, as far as that goes, though, like Alexander Volkanovski is the real deal. This Aussie came to fight. He came to defend the title. And I honestly believe that Alexander Volkanovski is going to take it. So I put $25 on Alexander Volkanovski. And there you have it, folks. Those are my bets for UFC 273. To quote Daniel Cormier, it's going to be insane. And to indirectly quote Sean O'Malley, if Khamzat Chimaev can do it against Gilbert Burns, it'll prove that he's the real deal. So I'm excited for these fights. I'm going to go try watch them with a friend, see how that works out. Hopefully everything goes well there. And I hope that you have a good night, and I hope that you enjoy the fights on Vimy Ridge Day, April 9th. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Hey, what's up? How's it going? I'm just getting ready for work. I just wanted to share with you my UFC 273 betting results. When it comes to bet number one that I made, that was a parlay bet between Volkanovski, Jan, and Chimaev. That one didn't quite work out, and that was because Jan didn't end up winning, but that's okay. I'll tell you why in a bit here. Now, when it comes to bet number two, Tecia Torres was who I was betting on. And when you watch the fight, you'll see that at first Tecia Torres had everything going her way for like the first 4 minutes of the fight. For the first 4 minutes, it was all Tecia. And then the last minute of that fight was, last minute of the first round was Mackenzie Dern. And then after that last minute, it was Mackenzie Dern the entire rest of the fight. Like the second one, Mackenzie Dern was like climbing on top of her, and she was like transitioning from submission attempt to submission attempt to submission attempt. And by the third round, Tecia Torres was just super gassed by round three. And also Mackenzie Dern did the same thing again in round three, which gave her the control overall. And that made her more dominant. The judges definitely saw her as more dominant. And as far as that went, Mackenzie Dern ended up costing me $16.25. But yeah, congratulations to Mackenzie Dern. Like, she did a really good job. And I was super happy for her family, because her family was in the audience. Her daughter was like right there in front of her. And like, you know, her husband was like crying tears of joy. Like, yes, my babe won. You know, like that's, you know, like, I mean, I couldn't even understand how that would feel. That would feel so awesome, you know, if I had a wife and she were fighting in the UFC and she won right in front of our daughter and I, you know, like I'd cry tears of joy too. That was awesome. Good job on Mackenzie Dern, costing me $16.25. When it comes to bet number three, Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. First off, I would just like to say, Gilbert Burns, you're awesome. You did a great job. He was fighting. It was a fair one-on-one fight, and like, you know, everybody, they were like fucking fighting back and forth. It was so awesome. In the second round, Gilbert Burns did like a smile, and that smile like made the entire crowd roar, like, yes, you know, because it was definitely fight of the night. Like, it was definitely fight of the night. But ultimately, like, the constant pressure from Khamzat Chimaev and the takedowns by Khamzat Chimaev ended up winning Khamzat Chimaev the match overall. And I bet on Khamzat Chimaev. I bet $30, and I only got back like $35 because he was such the overdog, right? But as far as that goes, though, I'm glad I bet on Khamzat Chimaev. Congratulations to Khamzat Chimaev. But again, super like respect to Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns, you were awesome that fight. And, you know, like, both fighters were like, bring it. At the end there, Khamzat Chimaev was like, bring it on, man, bring it on. It was a really good fight. Definitely fight of the night. And then when it comes to bet number four, Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan, however you want to pronounce his name. They're like, I honestly felt like Aljamain Sterling was working on his cardio, was working on all of the things that he saw that were flaws in the first fight between him and Yan. And also, I thought that maybe Jan was acting a bit emotionally, considering that he, you know, the way he lost the title in the first place was very, you know, almost unjust. You know what I mean? That must have hurt his feelings. I would have been angry too. You know, like, I don't like playing that, oh, here's what I would have done in the game. But like, ultimately, I feel like Aljamain Sterling did what I thought he was going to do, which was work on his cardio and all that. And like, throughout like the entire fight, he was pretty much on Petr Yan's back, and there was a couple of rounds where it was like 10-8 kind of thing, because he, you know, like, Aljamain Sterling was his backpack, like he said, the human backpack, right? He was on his back the entire fucking time, like, and it was a really good fight, I thought. And you know, Aljamain Sterling ended up squeaking out a victory there. It was really awesome. Thank you, Aljamain Sterling. I bet $20 on Aljamain Sterling, and I got back $90 because Aljamain Sterling won. So again, like, respect to Jan, but, you know, Aljamain Sterling, thank you. Yes. And then as for the main event, you know, everybody thought this would happen, that Volkanovski would run over the Korean Zombie. And, you know, when I was watching it, I was kind of hoping that the Korean Zombie might get like a lucky punch there or something like that. I was kind of hoping that, you know, the Korean Zombie would take it home, so that, like, you know, everybody in Korea that was watching, everybody that is basically every Asian in the world was probably watching it, going like, yes, do it for Asian people all over the world. So like, part of me was thinking like, hey man, I hope the Korean Zombie lands one lucky punch right here, even though like the entire fight there was constant pressure by Volkanovski. Volkanovski wasn't letting him breathe or anything like that in regards to like keeping the pressure on him. And Herb Dean did a really good stoppage. I thought it was a really good stoppage. It seemed kind of awkward that the stoppage was on their feet. You know, the stoppage was like they were both on their feet. That's when Herb Dean decided to stop it. But ultimately it was a really good stoppage because Volkanovski kind of just ran through the Korean Zombie, even though like,
respect to Chang Sung Jung. Respect to Chang Sung Jung. I respect you. You're a good fighter still in my eyes. I'm sorry that it didn't really work out. I was hoping that you'd be that first Asian to show all other Asians as possible. And, like maybe you'll have another chance somewhere down the line. But ultimately, Volkanovski took that thing. Like, he took it. He ran over the Korean zombie. I bet $25 on Volkanovski, and I only got back $28. But it was still worth the fun, even though I only won like $3 from the Volkanovski fight. But anyways, that was my bets for UFC 273. I bet $100 overall, or $101 or something like that, around $100, and I ended up walking away with around $155. So I'll have my new bets for UFC 274 up a week before the event, maybe sooner than that. We'll have to see. But other than that, though, it was a great night. Super thankful that Aljamain Sterling did what I thought he would do, and that he won the fight, which was what won me most of my money in terms of getting my money back. So again, it was just a great night. Congratulations to Dana White, as usual, always putting on a good show, and congratulations to Bruce Buffer, who is the man again. So thank you for watching. Those are my betting results for UFC 273, and I hope that you have a great day. Hello, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed your April and that you're going to have a wonderful May. We are 1 week away from UFC 274, and I just wanted to share with you my bets. We're going to rush through the undercard, and as far as the main events, I will kind of let you know why I think so-and-so is going to win, but other than that, I'm going to try power through this as quickly as possible because I got shit to do today. Anyways, here we go. Okay, so the undercard. When it comes to Journey Newson versus Fernie Garcia, I put $5.50 on Journey Newson. When it comes to Ariane Carnelossi versus Lupita Godinez, I chose to put $5.50 on Lupita Godinez. When it comes to Clayton Rodriguez versus CJ Vergara, I decided to put $5.50 on CJ Vergara. When it comes to Tracy Cortez versus Melissa Gatto, I decided to put $5.50 on Melissa Gatto. When it comes to Francisco Trinaldo versus Danny Roberts, I decided to put $5.50 on Danny Roberts. When it comes to Blagoy Ivanov versus Marcos Rogero de Lima, I decided to put $5.50 on Marcos Rogero de Lima. When it comes to Brandon Royval versus Matt Schnell, I decided to put $5.50 on Brandon Royval. When it comes to Macy Chiasson versus Norma Dumont, I decided to put $5.50 on Macy Chiasson. When it comes to Randy Brown versus Chaos Williams, I decided to put $5.50 on Randy Brown. Now here we go for the main card. For the main card, I had a really tough choice deciding between Donald Cerrone and Joe Lauzen. Like, as far as that goes, like, Donald Cerrone seems very straightforward, cut to the chase, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, Joe Lauzen kind of thing in regards to like his fighting. And then Joe Lauzen seems like, whatever, man, bring it, whatever happens, I'll roll with the punches, chaos, I'll fuck you up, and towards Joe Lauzen, towards like Donald Cerrone. That's sort of how I feel like it's gonna go. I feel like Joe Lauzen is more chaotic and more more crazy like that. So as far as that one goes, I decided to bet my money on the underdog. I believe that's Joe Lauzen, $15. Now, when it comes to Mauricio Rua, Shogun Rua versus Ovens St. Preux, I decided to put $15 on OSP, and that's just after I've seen his flute choke and all that stuff, like just the way he keeps getting that, and he just seems like the real deal, it just seems really like OSP might run through Mauricio Shogun Rua again, but we'll see how it goes. This is the second time they're fighting, and I hope that OSP wins again as far as that goes. Now, when it comes to Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, I watched the videos that they did with Oliveira and the videos that they did with Gagey. It kind of looks like Chandler has a bit of an edge above Ferguson, but Ferguson has had 3 losses in a row, and Chandler has had like 2 losses in a row. And I just feel like Ferguson has that extra psychological edge to push himself to win this time, or it's like, okay, I got to win this fight, or that's it. I'm done with the UFC. Like that's sort of how I feel. Maybe Ferguson might feel going into this fight. So I'm hoping here that Tony Ferguson is really training his heart out and making sure that he secures himself for a win instead of like the 4th loss in a row. This will be Michael Chandler's 3rd loss in a row if Michael Chandler loses. And if Tony Ferguson wins, whom I'm betting on. I am betting $20 on Tony Ferguson to win. Good luck, Tony. Now, when it comes to Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza, we have seen what happened already, right? Like, we've seen what happened before on Tough 20. You know, like, Carla Esparza was like the first one in the straw weight to like have the title and all that stuff in the division. We have seen what has happened there. We've seen Carla Esparza get on top of Rose Namajunas, and she had a lot of top control as far as that goes, that their first fight goes. Like, that worries me just a little bit for Rose Namajunas. But as far as that fight goes, I believe in Rose. You know, like, I believe that Rose watched the fight over and over and over again, and that Rose is kind of like training to prevent what happened in the first fight for the second fight. I believe that Rose Namajunas has this like edge, psychological edge about her. It's like, I'm never fucking losing against Carla Esparza again. I'm going to win against Carla Esparza. That's just how I feel that Rose is going to approach this. And she's like already champion. They've both already been champion. They're both awesome. But like, I feel like this is a new Rose Namajunas that Carla Esparza never fought with before. Even though they fought before and Carla Esparza won, I just feel like this is a new, evolved Rose Namajunas, you know, as far as that goes. So I put $25 on Rose Namajunas to win. Now, when it comes to the main event, here we go. The main event, Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. I mean, man, this is the tough one. This is a tough one. I've searched all of their fights. I've searched both sides of their fights, and like, you know what I mean? The way like Gaethje just like, you know, ran through kind of Ferguson, kind of anyway, stuff like that. You know, just the way Gaethje has all that knockout power. Like his 19 knockouts compared to like Oliveira has like 1 knockout, but then again, like Oliveira has like 20 submissions or something like that. And I'm just like, you know, going back and forth between that, it's like, it's almost impossible to know who's going to win for sure. So we'll find out on May 7th, right? But as far as that goes, like, I do not know who to pick, you know, but like, I mean, I picked one already, but I do not know who to pick, you know, like I spent all day studying both of their careers, where they came from, where they grew up and all that stuff. And after all of that, I've decided to kind of roll with what GSP said about them. You know, like he said, I wouldn't put money on the bet. I'm not rolling with that. You know, I love you, GSP, but I'm not rolling with that. I'm not going to not bet. But like he said to like, I wouldn't bet on the fight because of his, you know, he's thinking that like it could go either way. It's 50-50. It's like flipping a fucking coin, which I totally believe is right. Like, I believe that if Justin Gaethje wins, then he's going to do it in the first or second round. But the longer it goes, the more likely that Charles Oliveira is going to submit him as far as that goes. So if Justin Gaethje can win in the first or second round, then Justin Gaethje can win, right? But like, ultimately, if it goes beyond that, then I believe that Charles Oliveira is going to take it. Like, sorry, Justin Gaethje, I know that you're a really talented knockout artist, and you're up against a really talented submission artist. I don't know who to choose here, like, ultimately, but I'm going to have to play the odds on this one, and the fact that Oliveira just seems really, really composed as far as, you know, this fight coming up goes. He just kind of feels like, oh, I'm on a spiritual higher level than Justin Gaethje. But at the same time, though, Justin Gaethje is fucking training with, you know, Usman, and he's just like, you know, he's giving it his all as well, you know, but like, I feel like Oliveira's a smarter fighter, no offense, you know, but it's like, as far as that goes, I just feel like Charles Oliveira's going to like maybe even trick Justin Gaethje by taking one on the chin and then kind of like playing possum and then like trying to get into a position where he can grab one of his legs on the ground or something like that. Like, I feel like Oliveira is going to do something tricky and win this thing overall. But never count out Justin Gaethje. He has a puncher's chance, as everyone has been saying, but like, ultimately, I'm going to have to put $25.50 on Charles Oliveira to win. So as far as that goes, those are my UFC 274 bets. I'm going to hopefully be streaming my live reaction of the pay-per-view, and starting from like the preliminaries all the way up until Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. Hopefully I'll be streaming my live reaction. I'll put on the headphones and kind of like commentate on the commentating and like what's happening and stuff like that. And, you know, that's perfectly legal. That's nice and legal. But like, I will have my live reaction, and I'll figure out a way to maybe kind of get like the strike card on there, like how many strikes versus how many strikes, if that's an option for me. But like ultimately, like this UFC 274, I already bought the pay-per-view. It was like $64.99 because I already have Fight Pass or something like that, but I bought it already. I bought the subscription for it, and like I traded shifts at work, you know, so that I can watch the fucking UFC 274 pay-per-view, and I believe it's going to be a really good show. So tune in, and I always look forward to watching Bruce Buffer at the main events. You know, like it seems like every fight up before the main event, you know, he like kind of takes it a bit easy, fighting, and then all of a sudden after the fucking main event, fighting. So it's like he's the man. Bruce Buffer is one of my heroes. You know, if I could be anybody in the UFC, it'd be Bruce Buffer. You know what I mean? The ring announcer, man. You know, stay safe, right? But anyways, I'm going to enjoy watching UFC 274, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. Good luck to, you know, Oliveira. Good luck to Gagey. You're both talented fighters. And Rose Namajunas, if you're watching this, train harder. Even though it's a week away, I mean, you got to kind of take it easy. I hope that you're taking this very seriously. I know that you're super hard on yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way Bruce Lee once won a fight, and then he was like, I should have finished him faster. I know that Rose is kind of like that from what I've seen anyways, from what she's been showing us from her career. She seems like the kind of woman that would be like, I gotta finish Carla Esparza, you know, like even though she lost that first one, I just feel like she's going to be super hard on herself to the point where that she's going to tear apart Carla Esparza. But it's definitely a coin flip as far as that goes. But like, good luck, Rose Namajunas. I believe in you. I believe in you. Respect, and enjoy the show on Saturday, May 7th. Take care.
Good morning. Here are my UFC 274 results. I just woke up. You might be able to see it on my face, but here, let's rush through my results quickly here. Okay. Andre Fiallo versus Cameron Van Camp. I bet $5.50 on the underdog. I kind of knew that this would happen, but Andre Fiallo knocked out Cameron Van Camp. Andre Fiallo knocked out Cameron Van Camp, which cost me $5.50. But good job, Andre Fiallo. When it comes to Journey Newson versus Fernie Garcia, I bet on Journey Newson, and I got really lucky there that Journey Newson won that one. Then when it comes to Ariane Carnelossi versus Lupita Godinez, I was really worried because Ariane Carnelossi had like the biggest biceps in the women's division that I've ever fucking seen. And I thought maybe she'd be able to overpower Lupita Godinez using her strength or something like that, but they were just show muscles, I guess, and Lupita Godinez dominated that fight. Like, Lupita was on top of Ariane for like the entire 15 minutes, pretty much. It was pretty intense. So Lupita Godinez won me some money because I bet on Lupita Godinez. Good job, Lupita. And then when it comes to Clayton Rodriguez versus CJ Vergara, I bet on the underdog in that one. The underdog was CJ Vergara. I got lucky enough to win money on that one. CJ Vergara won. Good job, CJ. And then when it comes to Tracy Cortez versus Melissa Gatto, I bet on Melissa Gatto to win. Tracy Cortez won. That was a hot fight, though. Those women are gorgeous. Tracy Cortez ended up winning that fight. It was amazing. Like, it was good on Tracy Cortez. Respect. And then when it comes to Francisco Trinaldo versus Danny Roberts, I bet on Danny Roberts to win. But let's see. I can't remember who the fuck won here. I didn't have him crossed off on my list or not. I'll get back to you on that. But here's the results for that right now. Yeah, so that's what happened there. When it comes to Blagoy Ivanov versus Marcos Rogera de Lima, Blagoy Ivanov won, and I bet on Marcos Rogera de Lima. And, yeah, good job on Blagoy Ivanov. Respect. And then when it comes to Brandon Royval versus Matt Schnell, Brandon Royval got really lucky with the submission there. And, yeah, he tapped out Matt Schnell. It was a good fight. Way to go, Brandon Royval. Thank you for winning me some money. And when it comes to Macy Chiasson versus Norma Dumont, Norma Dumont was a huge overdog. You know, she was like the favorite going into this fight. And like, I was looking at them at the weigh-ins and stuff like that. Norma Dumont had like a bunch of paint on her face and stuff like that. And like, even though I understand what she was kind of going for, I had a feeling that Macy Chiasson was going to level her out. And that's totally what happened because Macy Chiasson had like 7 minutes of ground control time or whatever. It was intense. So Macy Chiasson ended up winning that one. Good job, Macy. Thank you. And then the main card. Now, the reason we're jumping to the main card right now is because Joe Lauzon versus Donald Cerrone didn't happen. So I ended up getting my money back that I bet on Joe Lauzon to win against Donald Cerrone, which kind of sucks on one level because I wanted to see that Donald Cerrone fight versus Joe Lauzon, and I was hoping that Joe Lauzon was going to tap out Donald Cerrone some way, somehow. Although I saw the press conference, and I was kind of rooting for Donald Cerrone after he was kind of like crying on the press conference because he was so like passionate that that his son gets to see what he does for a living, things like that. So I was kind of, even though I bet on Joe Lausen, after watching the press conference, I was like, wow, Donald Cerrone is all heart, man, doing it for his son. Even though I know Joe Lausen is doing it for his son as well, or his family as well, or who, if he has a son or a daughter. I know he has babies, but that fight didn't happen. So we went to the main card, and what got bumped up was the Randy Brown fight versus Chaos Williams fight. The Randy Brown fight and Chaos Williams fight, that was fun. I gotta tell you, that was really fun. Like Brown had some fluidity going in his motions, and Chaos Williams was very squared around the shoulders, just like squaring up with his opponent and stuff like that. It was a tough call, but the judges saw it in favor of Randy Brown, and I bet on Randy Brown. So Randy Brown won me some money there. Thank you, Randy Brown. As far as that goes, like, we're on the main card now. And then the second fight on the main card was Mauricio Shogun Hua. Friggin' Al Pacino there from Scent of a Woman. Okay, Mauricio Shogun Hua versus Ovince St. Preux, and that fight was kind of a bit slow paced, but like they're a bit older. Like one's like 39, one's like 40 or whatever, and they're both very wise. Like they're wise enough to know that both of them are killers, right? So I guess nobody was really taking too many chances because the fight never went to the ground, not even once. Nobody took anybody down or anything like that. But I bet on Ovince St. Preux to win, and luckily enough, Ovince St. Preux, OSP, won that fight against Shogun Hua. Respect to both fighters, but thank you, OSP, for winning me some money there. Now, when it comes to Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, oh my God, this is the fight that everybody is going to be talking about forever, because this when the knockout is going to make the highlight reels for forever. You know what I mean? Like whenever you go to like greatest 100 knockouts in the UFC, like odds are this knockout in the Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson fight, odds are they're going to show that in like the top 100 and all that stuff. It's crazy because nobody does that to Tony Ferguson for the most part, right? So, but when it came to Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler knocked out Tony Ferguson 17 seconds into the second round. That was amazing. I bet on Tony Ferguson, but like really congratulations to Michael Chandler for winning that fight and for costing me money. But like seriously, it was like knockout of the year so far. If you haven't seen it already, go check out the Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson fight. It was pretty intense. And when it comes to our co-main event, that was Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. I almost don't want to waste too much time talking about this fight because nothing really happened in the fight. In 25 minutes of fighting, these professional fighters going for a championship only had about like 33 strikes each. Like Carla had 30 strikes, and then Rose had like 33 strikes, and Rose had 1 takedown, and Carla Esparza had 2 takedowns, and that was in a 25-minute fight with professional athletes where, they should be at, like, if you go 25 minutes, there should be at least like 50 fucking punches thrown throughout the entire thing, or more ground control or something like. But it was like the most boring fight of 2022, but I understand it to a certain extent. Like they're both like high level professional champions, and nobody wanted to make a slip up or anything like that, but nothing happened in the entire fucking fight. It should have been a draw. I bet on Rose Namajunas, thinking that Rose Namajunas was going to look for blood. Maybe she was being all nice or something because Carla Esparza was getting married next week. She's getting married like Saturday or something, and like maybe Rose didn't want to fuck her up or something. I don't know what it was. Whatever it was, like nobody took any fucking chances whatsoever. I bet money on Rose Namajunas to win, and Carla Esparza won the championship because she had more takedowns overall, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much how that fight went. Oh well, what are you gonna do about it, right? Anyways, now when it comes to the main event, there's a whole bunch of controversy surrounding this fight here. Like the main event was Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje, and the fact that Charles Oliveira missed weight by like a pound or whatever the fuck it was, like that made me think the stars were opening up for Justin Gaethje to win. But as far as that fight went though, like it was really entertaining. Justin Gaethje dropped Charles Oliveira for a bit there, and then Charles Oliveira got right back up and then ended up backpacking Justin Gaethje, and then Justin Gaethje got choked out with a rear naked choke by Charles Oliveira. So that fight made everything worthwhile. Like that was totally fucking awesome. That was totally worthwhile, right? Like everything up to that fight was kind of like, yeah, it was all right. But like that Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje fight made everything worth it. And actually so did the Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson fight. That made everything worth it. It was totally worth buying the pay-per-view. I'll probably buy the next pay-per-view, but yeah, Charles Oliveira ended up winning. And since he didn't make weight, the title remained vacant. So that means that Charles Oliveira is now the #1 contender, and he has to fight for his title again in order to obtain it again, assuming he can make weight the next time that they fight for this vacant title. But there's a bunch of controversy about that. People are thinking that it was fixed, like the backstage scale that the fighters use. They're thinking that was fixed and all that stuff, but it's hard to tell. Let's just say Charles Oliveira just didn't make weight. That's all there is to it. What are you gonna do about it? But like as far as that goes, though, that was UFC 274, and that's my betting results right there. Let's see how much we won. Let's tally this up. Okay, so if I tallied up everything correctly, I bet $155.5 on the fight. $155.50. That's how much I bet on UFC 274. Now, how much I won was $150.54. Which, I mean, any sports gambler will kind of tell you that's not so bad. That's not so bad, even though it was $5 out of my pocket. But ultimately, that's not so bad as far as sports betting goes. I had a great time watching the fights. I'm looking forward to UFC 275. Hey, what's up? How's it going? So I decided that I'm having so much fun sports betting. I decided to place a couple wagers tonight, May 12th, and for May 14th, which is UFC Fight Night Blachowicz versus Rakic. Now, here are my bets, but remember to keep sports betting fun. You know, it's adult entertainment. It's there for fun. It's not there to make a career out of, even though I would love to be a professional gambler, and that's 100% possible from anybody in the entire world to be a professional gambler. But, you know, ultimately the odds are in favor of the house. So, you know, I mean, if you're going to choose a career in gambling, you know, if I can open a casino, open an online casino, it takes like $300,000 or something like that, but mostly just, you know, keep it a game if you're gambling against the house and all that stuff, the way it goes. Anyways, here are my bets for the NHL games happening tonight. I originally bet on Carolina Hurricanes, Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers, and Boston Bruins to win the Stanley Cup. Tonight, all four of my teams are playing. Now, Carolina is playing against Boston Bruins. I knew that going in, but I decided to make a bet, and I figured like whomever wins out of the Carolina and Boston teams, I feel like they're going to go straight to the Cup, but we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But my bets for tonight, May 12th, playoff games tonight, I decided to put $10 on Carolina Hurricanes to crush the Boston Bruins tonight. Hopefully that works out, but at the same time, oh, Boston, I love you, man. Boston's one of my favorite teams in the entire NHL, and it's just sad to kind of see the way things are going in regards to their playing lately. It just seems like Carolina is on fire as far as that goes, but we'll see how it goes. I put $10 on Carolina Hurricanes to win tonight. Good luck, Carolina. And when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Tampa Bay Lightning game tonight, I decided to put $5 on Toronto Maple Leafs. I think it's like game 6 or something like that, and like Tampa Bay is facing possible elimination if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully Toronto Maple Leafs can knock Tampa Bay right out of it tonight, and I hope that happens. So good luck, Toronto. I put $5 on Toronto. And then when it comes to the St. Louis game versus the Minnesota Wild game, excuse me, sorry about that. When it comes to the St. Louis game versus the Minnesota Wild game, I decided to bet on St. Louis to win it, so good luck, St. Louis. I put $5 on St. Louis. And when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers versus the Kings tonight, even though I feel like the Kings are just on a hot streak, I feel like they might crush the Oilers tonight and send them packing out of the fucking playoffs of this year, send them golfing as far as that goes. I have to put $10 on Edmonton Oilers to stay in the game because I want to share my faith in the Edmonton Oilers to make it to a game 7. You know what I mean? Like tonight they're facing a possible elimination, and if the Kings win, they're going golfing afterwards. You know what I mean? Like Edmonton Oilers are going golfing afterwards if the Kings win tonight. So I feel like tonight Edmonton is going to make the first of their last stands, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we're going to go to game 7 with Edmonton and LA Kings. I hope anyway. So tonight's game 6, and I feel like they're going to pick it up, turn it up a notch, because they know that their life is on the fucking line as far as that goes for, you know, their NHL professional careers this year in regards to the playoffs. You know, the 2022 playoffs. The Edmonton Oilers fucking know that they got to do it tonight. So I feel like they're going to be that much more amped up, and hopefully Smith can keep his composure and like stay in the net, stay strong in the net, square off, stay, you know, like keep the technique. You know what I mean? Like I hope he sticks to technique as far as that goes. But ultimately, I put $10 on the Edmonton Oilers to win, to make it to game 7 tonight against the LA Kings. Go Edmonton. Those are my bets for the NHL games tonight, May 12th, Thursday. And I really hope everything works out. You know what I mean? Like I hope I picked a couple of winners, but ultimately I'm mostly rooting for Edmonton to win. You know what I mean? Like those are like 4 of my teams that I chose to bet on to win the Stanley Cup are playing tonight. But it's like Edmonton, I have my heart in, you know what I mean, as far as that goes. But anyways, those are my bets for the NHL games tonight. Now here are my bets for the UFC Fight Night coming up on Saturday. You know, anything could happen on any given day, but ultimately I decided to put on the first bout, that's a flyweight match between Jake Hadley versus Alan Nascimento. I decided to put $6.90 on Jake Hadley because he has an 8-0 kind of winning streak, and he's just kind of coming up and making his
way up to the top, I think. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. He had a really good rear naked choke against Mitch Raposo, so I decided to put $6.90 on Jake Hadley, and I hope that he chokes out Alan Nascimento on Saturday. We'll see what happens, though. When it comes to the second card on the second fight on the main card, that's a lightweight bout between Frank Camacho versus Manuel Torres. Frank Camacho is no joke. He's a really strong fighter. He had like 31 professional fights or something like that, right? And as far as that goes, though, I decided to put $5.80 on Manuel Torres. And so far I've been playing the favorites. Those are the favorites for the first two main card fights, so I put $5.80 on Manuel Torres. And now for the third fight, I decided to pick an underdog here. The third fight is a women's flyweight bout between Caitlin Chukagian versus Amanda Ribas. And as far as that goes, Amanda Ribas is the underdog there. I decided to bet $5 on Amanda Ribas, and here's why. Just her black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? So I hope that Amanda Ribas wins, and I feel like it's going to go this way, one of two ways. Either Caitlin Chukagian will get the decision win, and she'll have more strikes, more points on the fucking cards as far as the judges go. And if not, Amanda Ribas is going to tap her out one way or another. Amanda Ribas will tap out Caitlin Chukagian. I hope. We'll see what happens, though. Anything could happen on any given fight night. Right now, Amanda Ribas is at plus 150, so I get like at least $10 back for my $5 bet, right? So as far as that goes, go Amanda Ribas. Now, as far as the fourth fight on the main card go, that's the bantamweight bout between Davy Grant versus Luis Smolka. I'm a huge Davy Grant fan. He was in the tough season with Rousey versus Tate. He was on Team Rousey, if I'm not mistaken, and he just seems like a cool guy. So it's like, that being said, even though I'm rooting for Davy Grant, I wanted to pick a couple of underdogs here. I decided that Luis Smolka might actually pull this one out. We'll see how it goes, though. Davy Grant's no joke. Luis Smolka definitely has his work cut out for him, but Luis Smolka is the plus 240 underdog, and I'm a sucker for the underdog, as people like to say. And since he's at plus 240, I decided to put $3.10 on Luis Smolka, and if he wins, that'll win me over $10 basically, and that's sort of what I'm hoping for. But ultimately, go Davy Grant, but at the same time, Luis Smolka can win me some money there. But it's going to be a good fight either way. The bantamweight bout, that's the fourth fight on the main card, and go Luis Smolka for money, and go Davy Grant because I'm a fan of Davy Grant. We'll see what happens, though. Now, as for the fifth fight on the main card, that is a light heavyweight bout between Ryan Spann versus Jan Cutelaba. Now, Jan Cutelaba is no fucking joke. He'll rush in there and he'll just like right into danger. He'll run towards war like Danawa Danatli. He is like one of those people that runs to the war as far as that goes. So Jan Cutelaba might just level out Ryan Spann as far as that goes. I feel like Jan Cutelaba is on this higher level of aggression compared to Ryan Spann. But they're both really good fighters. If you look at the odds, though, Jan Cutelaba is at minus 225, and the odds for Ryan Spann is plus 187. So I got to go with the murder, death, kill there, plus 187. I put $5 on Ryan Spann, and I hope that Ryan Spann wins it. It's kind of neat. They both have their nicknames. One's like a DC character, and one's like a Marvel character. Ryan, the Superman Spann versus Jan, the Hulk Cutelaba. You know what I mean? So it'll be neat. You know what I mean? Superman versus the Hulk. Who's going to win? We'll see what happens. If it were like a superhero bout between the actual fucking characters, Superman would obviously win. But right now, Ryan Spann, the Superman, is at plus 187. That makes him the underdog, but I'm a sucker for the underdog, so I put $5 on Ryan Spann. Go Ryan Spann. Now, when it comes to the light heavyweight main bout for the UFC Fight 9, Blachowicz versus Rakic, as far as that goes, right now, Jan Blachowicz is the underdog, and Alexander Rakic is, the favorite as far as that goes. And Jan Blachowicz has 28 wins, 9 losses, while Alexander Rakic has 14 wins and 2 losses. And, anything can happen as far as that goes. But I'm rooting for Jan Blachowicz. The fact that he had an injury in April, though, kind of makes me a bit worried that, he might be fighting a bit more cautiously and, maybe taking less chances, less risks as far as his fighting style goes that particular night coming this Saturday. Even though that kind of worries me a bit, I'm rooting for Jan Blachowicz to win, even though Alexander Rakic, he had a fight against, what the hell was his name there? Devin Clark, and just the way, Devin Clark kind of dropped Alexander Rakic, and then he got back up and kept getting back up, and he ended up, winning against Devin Clark. It was intense after Devin Clark gave him a bunch of illegal knees and all that stuff. It was a really good fight between Alexander Rakic versus Devin Clark. So I know for a fact that Jan Blachowicz has his fucking work cut out for him. Even though that he caught Luke Rockhold with a really nice hook, good KO. It was a really good KO there. And I believe that Jan Blachowicz definitely has his work cut out when it comes to this fight, but I decided to put $4.20 on Jan Blachowicz. So that there is my bets for my sports gambling, and it's not an addiction. I can quit whenever I want, but like ultimately, keep it a game, keep it having fun. I have bets. Was it like it was $10, $20, $30 on the NHL games tonight, and I bet $30 on UFC Fight Night, and I hope that I come out ahead. We will see what happens though as far as that goes. Go Edmonton tonight as far as NHL games go, and go Jan Blachowicz as far as UFC Fight Night, Blachowicz versus Rakic goes. I look forward to having fun watching these events, and I know that I'll have a good time either way. You know what I mean? Respect to all of the players on the NHL teams, and respect to all of the fighters at UFC Fight Night coming this Saturday. Thank you for watching. Cheers and respect.
Good morning. Hey, how's it going? Just waking up a little bit tired here. I got my results for UFC Fight Night. I bet like $30 on the UFC Fight Night yesterday. I got them right here. But I just wanted to say, how about those Edmonton Oilers? That game was fucking awesome. A shutout on Game 7 against LA Kings so that the Edmonton Oilers can go to the next round. That's fucking awesome. Good job on Edmonton. And as for Toronto, you had such an opportunity. I mean, Tampa Bay wasn't just going to let that happen, but like ultimately though, it was so sad to watch Morgan Riley in tears skating off the ice after the game. It was really sad, but at the same time, like, you gotta love your Canadian teams. If all the Canadian players stayed in Canada on all the Canada teams, then I'm pretty sure, the Canada teams would be conquering, but that's, here nor there, whatever. That's not here nor there, whatever. That's as far as that goes. But here are my results for the UFC Fight Night. Blachowicz versus Rakic. Sorry, just woke up, kind of, just waking up. My body's still in sleep mode. But anyways, I bet $30 overall, and I ended up getting back $30 overall. But let's talk about a couple fights here. Andre Petrovsky, like that was like the submission of the night, hands down. In like the first 72 seconds, he ended up tapping out Nick Maximov, and it was just a crazy fucking submission. Like I think it was Maximov who was the favorite, and Nick Petrovsky ended up just like giving him an anaconda choke in fucking like 72 seconds. It was crazy. Sorry, again, I'm just waking up. Sorry. I think fight of the night was one of the women's bouts. Like it was really good. Like Caitlin Chukagian versus Amanda Ribas. I think maybe that might have been fight of the night or something. But like as far as that goes, though, I thought Amanda Ribas won because she had like 4 minutes of ground control time in a 15-minute fight. But I don't know, something about Caitlin Chukagian's aggression. Her stand-up game is really strong, and just the way like whenever she throws those punches, you could hear her going ha ha. So it's like the judges see that and notice that, and it was a really good fight as far as that goes. But anyways, okay, so I bet on Jake Hadley to win when it comes to Jake Hadley versus Alan Nascimento, and Alan Nascimento ended up winning, and I credit that to ground control time. Like Jake Hadley couldn't find a way to escape Alan Nascimento's ground control, but as far as that goes, I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Alan Nascimento had Charles Oliveira in his corner, teaching him his ground game, his jiu-jitsu game, and all that stuff. I mean, so with training like that, for Alan Nascimento, it's just, God, that pissed me off. But at the same time, like, good job, Alan Nascimento. I just thought Jake Hadley was going to keep his winning streak going, but ultimately that ground control and being trained by Charles Oliveira really helped out Alan Nascimento. But Alan Nascimento cost me like $5 or whatever the hell it was. And then, when it comes to Frank Camacho versus Manuel Torres, I was really shocked that Manuel Torres did the whole, it was like a left counter strike and then a right uppercut to kind of like put him on the ground, and then, finished him off. It was awesome. Good job, Manuel Torres. I was really shocked there, but at the same time, I bet on Manuel Torres. So good job, Manuel Torres. Thank you for winning me some money. Now, as for Caitlin Chukagian versus Amanda Ribas, I bet on Amanda Ribas's, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. I thought maybe it was either going to go one of two ways, that Amanda Ribas was either going to tap out Caitlin Chukagian somehow, or that Caitlin Chukagian would win by decision. And sure enough, Caitlin Chukagian won by decision. But, Amanda Ribas, again, I took a note here. She had like 4 minutes of ground control time the entire fight. So it was a real coin flip when it came to watching the fight and be like, who's going to win this fight? And, I almost called it a fucking draw when I'm scoring it in my mind there. I'm like, oh, it's pretty much a fucking draw. But anyways, good job, Caitlin Chukagian, for winning that fight. And then when it comes to Davey Grant versus Louis Smolka, like, Louis Smolka was the really big underdog there, and I knew that, and that's the only reason I bet on Louis Smolka. But at the same time, I was cheering for Davey Grant. Like, in the original video where I made my bets, I told everybody, hey, I'm cheering for Davey Grant, even though Louis Smolka
is the underdog that I'm betting on. I chose 3 underdogs and 3 favorites, right? And Louis Smolka had like the biggest, underdog odds in regards to getting my money's worth, in terms of a bet. So I bet on Louis Smolka, but ultimately I kind of knew Davy Grant would win that one. So very good on Davy Grant, respect. Now, as for number 5, Ryan Spann versus Jan Cutelaba, I did not see that coming. Even though I bet on Ryan Spann, I really expected Jan Cutelaba to, turn it up a notch there and take out Ryan Spann. But when it came to Ryan the Superman Spann versus Jan the Hulk Cutelaba, Superman won. Good job, Ryan Spann, on the win. You won me some money, respect, and it was just, it was a good fight overall. Now, when it comes to the main event, Jan Blachowicz versus Alexander Rakic, oh man, that was a good fight for a bit, and it was just what happened was really shitty. It was just an unfortunate kind of accident. Just whatever, the body can only take so much kind of thing. But Jan Blachowicz versus Alexander Rakic, Jan Blachowicz ended up winning because Alexander Rakic dislocated his knee. He was just doing like a back step, and I guess he maybe overtrained or whatever it was. Maybe Jan Blachowicz made a couple of good kicks on his knee or something like that. I don't know what it was. It was fates, the stars, destined to be that Alexander ended up dislocating his knee while he was trying to evade an attack by Jan Blachowicz. But ultimately, it was a really good night of fights, though. But like I said, though, it was that Andre Petrovsky fight where he tapped out Nick Maximov in the first 72 seconds. That was definitely submission of the night. And Tatsu Taira, that guy's gonna go far, man. If he keeps sticking to his guns and he keeps working hard at it and stuff like that, he's already gone far. Obviously, he's 22 and he's in the UFC, but if he if he sticks to it, if he keeps doing it, keeps training as hard as possible, sky's the limit for him, man. He's 22 in the flyweight division or whatever it was, and that guy's gonna go real far if he keeps sticking to his guns. So I hope you keep doing that, Tatsuru Taira. Sorry if I pronounce your name a bit funny, but yeah, respect to every fighter yesterday. I had a good time watching the fights. I had a fucking great time watching the NHL playoffs because the Edmonton Oilers fucking won. That was great. And, Tampa Bay, I'm sure, is going to go far. And I was really sad to find out Boston got eliminated because I was at work at the time. And then as soon as I got off work, I was like, okay, maybe I could see the Boston and Carolina game. And then the game was already over. So that kind of fucking sucked. But ultimately, though, it was a really good night for sports. And tonight we got another good night for sports. We got the Boston Celtics versus Milwaukee Bucks in NBA. We got the fucking Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars tonight, and we got the Penguins versus the Rangers tonight, NHL, right? So it's a good night for sports again. I don't think I'm going to get a whole lot done because I'm going to be too busy watching these good fucking sports television programs, broadcasting. I'm tired. I just woke up. But as for that goes, respect to everybody involved. Again, I just want to say how heartbreaking it was to fucking see Morgan Riley in tears skating off the ice for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But that it just wasn't in the stars, I guess, as far as that goes, because Toronto had the lead in Game 6. It was 3-2 at third period, and they all they had to do was stay in formation, and I know it's easier said than done. Here's what I would have done, but all they had to do was kind of stay conservative and in formation, and just they would have had it on Game 6, but shit happens. That's the way it goes. Tough break. Morgan Riley, respect though. Just when I see somebody who has their heart in it that much and they burst into tears on fucking national television and stuff like that, just respect, right? Respect. But anyways, thank you for watching. Those are my bets. Kind of broke even, and everybody take care. Have a great new week. Respect.
Hey, how's it going? These are my picks for UFC Fight Night Holm versus Vieira. Okay, that's better. Okay, when it comes to the first fight on May 21st, that is between Elise Reed versus Sam Hughes. Now, when it comes to that fight, I feel like Sam Hughes is going to eat more punches than Elise Reed is going to, and I feel like Elise Reed has a better chance on the ground as far as ground game grappling goes. Although I do have to give some points to Sam Hughes for having a really good choke. She did a guillotine and a couple of rear naked chokes in her career, and they've all been really strong, and I know that it's going to be a pretty good fight, pretty close fight. It's really hard to call, but I'm going to have to put $5 on Elise Reed. Now, when it comes to bout number 2, which is Chase Hooper versus Felipe Colares, I know that they're both evenly matched. They're both very good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I feel like Felipe maybe has a stronger striking game than Chase Hooper does, but ultimately, what I'm thinking here for this Chase Hooper guy, I think he's going to be a lot like Oliveira, the way Oliveira, had to learn a few lessons in order to get better at it. And I feel like Chase Hooper is going to get better and better and better. And that one day the guy will be a champion if he sticks to it and really does his absolute best. I believe he is born to do that. I hope anyway. I hope. So as far as that goes, just pointing that out there, I'm going to have to bet $5 on Chase Hooper to win, probably by a submission, because that's his go-to game. Fight number 3. When it comes to Jonathan Martinez versus Vince Morales, I really love the Morales fight with Gutierrez because Gutierrez just really leveled on his legs there, just completely tore apart Vince Morales' legs. That was a really good fight. But as far as Jonathan Martinez versus Vince Morales goes, I'm going to have to go with my instincts on this one and bet $5 on Jonathan Martinez. And when it comes to bout number 4, Omar Morales versus Uros Medic, both of them are coming off of losses where they were tapped out by somebody else as far as that goes. So they both are looking for something to prove. So I believe it's going to be a really good fight as far as that goes. I feel like Omar Morales has more wins by decision, unanimous decision, split decision, whatever it is. I feel like he has more wins by that, and I feel like Uros has more wins by TKO and knockout, and he's a finisher. I feel like Uros is more of a finisher, so I'm going to have to put my money on the finisher and put $5 on Uros Medic. When it comes to bout number 5, Parker Porter versus Jailton Almeida, I know that a lot of people have been making fun of how big Parker Porter is, and they've been saying that Jailton Almeida has more tools in his arsenal to finish this fight as far as that goes. Everybody's trying to say that Jailton Almeida is going to take Parker Porter to the ground and just have his way with them because Parker Porter is too big to kind of get back up as far as that goes. In fact, Jailton Almeida is at minus 600 right now, while Parker Porter is at plus 450 right now. That's pretty big odds. As far as underdogs go, that it doesn't get much worse than that in regards to odds. But as far as betting goes, I'm a betting man. I'm going to have to play my odds here, and when I say play my odds, I'm going to have to play the highest expected value back, which is plus 450. So I'm going to take a chance. This is my wild card fight right here. I'm going to take a chance on Parker Porter and put $5 on Parker Porter. It comes to bout number 6, which is the main preliminary event between Joseph Holmes and Alan Amedovski. I know that Alan Amedovski has the potential to KO Joseph Holmes. Anything could happen in a fight as far as that goes. I'm going to have to reflect on the Alan Amedovski versus John Phillips fight. Go watch it right after you watch this. It's a fucking amazing fight. And I'm going to have to reflect on the fact that Joseph Holmes has a couple of advantages, like a 6-inch reach advantage going for him as far as that goes. So it's really hard to tell. This is kind of like a coin flip situation as far as that goes. But I'm hoping that Joseph Holmes comes out the victor in this one. So I decided to put $5 on Joseph Holmes. Now we're on the main card. When it comes to bout number 7, which is a fight between Eric Anders versus Jun Young Park, I would like to think that Jun Young Park might actually come out on top with his boxing and knock out Eric Anders. As far as that goes, it's hard to tell, but I'm going to have to play the former Alabama college linebacker here, Eric Anders. I hope that Eric Anders wins, so I'm going to have to put $5 on Eric Anders. When it comes to bout number 8, which is Polyana Viana versus Tabitha Ricci, both are very evenly matched as far as that goes. I believe that both are submission artists on the rise. We got Tabitha Ricci, who has the purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then we have Polyana Viana, who has a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So as far as that goes, I feel like it could be anyone's match. I'm going to have to reflect on one particular match as far as Tabitha Ricci goes, though. When she was against Manon Fiorot, I just feel like Manon Fiorot dominated her because of her size difference, her reach advantage, and all of that. And the same sort of stats kind of apply here because Polyana Viana has that strong reach advantage as far as this fight goes coming up on May 21st. So I'm going to have to put $5 on Polyana Viana. But because I love the Baby Shark stuff, the only reason I love the Baby Shark stuff is because I have 3 babies of my own, right? And they fucking watch that around the clock, that Baby Shark do. And that's fucking Tabitha Ricci's name. So in honor of my daughter who loves that fucking song so damn much, I'm going to put $1 on Tabitha Ricci to win as a side bet as well. Respect to both fighters. Anybody can win. Cheers. When it comes to bout number 9, Chidi Njoykwani versus Duško Todorovic, I'm going to have to reflect on the Dequan Townsend versus Duško Todorovic fight. That was very impressive by Duško Todorovic. And I'm going to have to reflect on the Mario Sousa fight versus Chidi Njoykwani. That was very impressive by Chidi Njoykwani. Both of them in those fights showed us that they can do ground and pound work, showed us that they're very well-rounded fighters. Anything could happen. But I'm going to have to reflect the most on the Marc-Andre Baralt fight that Chidi Njoykwani had. Go watch it right now. It's amazing. So reflecting on that fight, I'm going to have to choose Chidi Njoykwani. Therefore, I put $5 on Chidi Njoykwani to win the fight that night. When it comes to bout number 10, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Michel Pereira, I reflected on a few of their matches. I watched some of their career and I looked over some of it. Like, I was impressed by a few finishes by Santiago Ponzinibbio, such as the Andre Stahl fight and the Wendell Oliveira fight and the Neil Magny fight. And then as for Michel Pereira, I was just impressed overall because he was so flashy as far as like mixed martial arts goes. He has the art size really down, you know, like he was doing some ninjutsu, he was flying off the cage and stuff like that, a bunch of backflips during the weigh-ins and things like that, a bunch of cool flashy things like that. And after studying all of that, I had no idea who to choose as far as like who to put my money on, who to bet on, and as far as that goes. So I decided to call a friend. And a friend of mine said that Michel Pereira is going to win by TKO or KO. So I decided to go with that. So I put $5 on Michel Pereira. Now, when it comes to the main event on May 21st, 2022, UFC Fight Night, Holly Holm versus Ketlen Vieira, I'm going to have to reflect on how Miesha Tate won against Holly Holm, but also Holly Holm won against Irene Aldana. And then Ketlen Vieira won against Miesha Tate, while Irene Aldana won against Ketlen Vieira. So it's pretty evenly matched as far as statistic goes and all that. I feel, though, this is just a feeling, like Holly Holm had her time in the spotlight, you know what I mean, as far as that goes. Like, she's one of the greatest of all time in the women's division as far as that goes, you know. And now it's time for Ketlen Vieira to rise up and become one of the next greats, you know. It's time for the next generation to rise, like Holly Holm being in her 40s and, you know, Ketlen Vieira being in her 30s. I feel like Ketlen Vieira is going to pull off the win. So for the main event, the Holly Holm versus Ketlen Vieira fight, I'm going to have to put $5 on Ketlen Vieira. Go Ketlen. And those are my bets for the UFC Fight Night Holm versus Vieira on May 21st, 2022. I hope that things work out. I hope that we end up plus money as far as that goes. And always keep it a game, have fun, and enjoy yourselves. These fights are going to be awesome. I'm going to watch them after work and have a really great time. So thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a great week. Respect.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? These are my UFC Vegas 55 betting results as far as the night goes. Let's start here. Number 1. Wow. I really underestimated Sam Hughes. And I just want to say, sorry for underestimating you, Sam Hughes. That was fucking awesome. You dominated Elise Reed and you ended up finishing her off in the 3rd round. That was fucking amazing. I'm proud to have lost $5 betting on Elise Reed to win. I thought Elise Reed had a better ground game than Sam Hughes, but Sam Hughes really impressed me. And she cost me $5. Man. But ultimately, though, I just want to say, though, like, it was a great fight for Sam Hughes. Elise Reed didn't know what to do on the ground. I underestimated Elise Reed's ground game, but I underestimated Sam Hughes in whole. I just want to say how, like, awesome it was, though, to watch Sam Hughes dominate Elise Reed. So, good job, Sam Hughes. Respect. Okay, and for Chase Hooper versus Philippe Colares, or Colares, however you pronounce it, like, that was a really good fight. Like, that was so fucking awesome. Like, it was just a pure scramble, right? Like, it was nothing but scrambling for like 2.5 rounds. And then, like, by the last, like, couple minutes of the 3rd round, Chase Hooper ended up getting on top of Felipe and just ended up like punching him out and getting the technical knockout, the stoppage by stoppage, right? Stoppage by punches or whatever. Referee called it right then and there. But like, you know, respect to Philippe Colares, like that was a tough fight for him. Like they were both just scrambling the entire freaking match on the ground, like a couple of snakes fighting for like 10 fucking minutes, 12 fucking minutes, whatever it was, before Chase got on top and started like ground and pound shit. That was cool, man. Like Chase Hooper, he's gonna be a fucking champion one day. Definitely count on it. I put my money on that. Like one day, Chase Hooper will have one of those belts over his fucking shoulder or whatever you want to say. You know what I mean? As far as that goes, he will have it. But as far as that goes up, Chase Hooper won me some money, so I'm pretty proud of that for match number 2 of the prelims tonight. So respect to Chase Hooper. Okay, and fight number 3, I'm just going to cross out Vince Morales right here, although with all due respect. Jonathan Martinez kept on the constant pressure in that fight, and since I bet on Jonathan Martinez, he won me a bit of money there, but ultimately, really good pressure by Jonathan Martinez, and this is what, his 3rd fight in the row that he won, so, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing more Jonathan Martinez fights. Respect, JM, good fight. Fight number 4, Omar Morales versus Uros Medic. I'm just going to cross out Omar Morales right here. It was a really good fight. Round 1 could have went either way. At the end of round 1, though, Uros Medic ended up landing a really big one against Omar Morales. Then they went to round 2. Everything seemed to be going well there for a bit, and then all of a sudden, Uros Medic ended up dropping Omar Morales 3 fucking times. And on the 3rd time, Omar Morales landed on the ground. It seemed like the referee could let it go a bit longer, but ultimately, the ref stopped the fight before Uros Medic could hurt Omar Morales, ultimately. And this is Omar Morales' first time getting knocked out as a professional fighter, though. But it was a really good fight. It was a really good fight. Mad respect to Uros Medic for winning me some money that time around. I'm really happy that he won, but at the same time, I was just like, respect to both fighters. Like, Uros Medic is a finisher, and that's what I was betting on at the beginning of the entire thing. But ultimately, Uros Medic won that one, so thank you, Uros Medic, for winning me some money. Woo! Fight number 5, Jelton Almeida versus Parker Porter. I hope Parker Porter's okay. Ultimately, like that's what happened. What everybody said that was going to happen. Everybody said that Parker Porter was going to get on the ground by Almeida, and Almeida was going to control him the entire fight. That's exactly what happened. Jelton Almeida got on top of Parker Porter. Parker Porter didn't land any strikes whatsoever, anything like that. He couldn't get back up or anything like that, which is why Parker Porter was at plus 450, and that's the only reason I bet on Parker Porter was the plus 450. You know what I mean? Ultimately, if Parker Porter would have won, I would have won the most money back of all the fights, ultimately, you know what I mean, because he was such a fucking underdog. But ultimately, what everybody said would happen, happened. Jelton Almeida got on top of Parker Porter and completely dominated Parker Porter, and that's that. Good job, Jelton Almeida. And Parker Porter cost me $5, man. Just like I knew he kind of would, but it was my wild card bet as far as that goes. But again, congratulations to Almeida, and you know, I look forward to seeing Almeida dominate again in his next bout, but we'll see what happens. Respect. Fight number 6 was a quick one. Joseph Holmes versus Alan Amadovsky. I was a bit worried because Alan Amadovsky has finished off people with the same similar dimensions as Joseph Holmes, but that didn't really play out that way. Joseph Holmes ended up finishing off Alan Amadovsky after he threw a knee, which opened up the finish for Joseph Holmes. It was a really good fight and really good performance by Joseph Holmes. I look forward to seeing him in more bouts in the future. I bet on Joseph Holmes, so respect to him for winning me a couple bucks there. Woo! Okay, now we're on the main card of the night. We got fight number 7, Eric Anders versus Jun Young Park. I'm just going to cross out Eric Anders here because Jun Young Park won. But after watching the fight, my perspective of the fight is that Eric Anders won the fight, but ultimately never leave it in the hands of the judges because, you know, they gave it to Jun Young Park in the end. And yeah, even at the end of the fight, even Eric Anders kind of thought he won that fight because he was like, hey, let's go get a beer afterwards. You could hear him saying that to Jun Young Park, but what are you going to do, right? And just never leave it in the hands of the judges. And they gave it to Jun Young Park, so good job on the Iron Turtle, but mad respect to Eric Anders. I believe that he won that fight, but moving on. Okay, fight number 8. That's Polyana Viana versus Tabitha Ricci. That was a decent fight overall. You know, I have to cross out Polyana Viana because Tabitha won by decision, and she managed to squeeze out a decision by all of her takedowns. She had so much ground control, it was insane. Well, Polyana Viana kind of just seemed like she was okay with losing or something because she didn't really want to fight for it. But Tabitha Ricci scrapped her way to the win and dominated Polyana Viana. So good work, Baby Shark. I bet on Polyana Viana to win, but I also placed a side bet on Tabitha Baby Shark Ricci, and you know, I won my side bet, but ultimately, you know, Polyana Viana let me down there. But you know, respect though to Tabitha Ricci. She's really awesome. You know, she's like the hottest. Like I said, she's like the hottest fucking UFC fighter I've fucking ever seen there. But anyways, decent fight. Next fight. Bout number 9, Chidi Njokwani versus Duško Todorovic. I'm going to cross out Duško Todorovic, but what was happening in the fight? At first, Duško Todorovic looked like he was winning, everything was kind of going his way to a certain extent, and then it seemed like Duško gave up his back, and then after that, Chidi Njokwani just kind of controlled him for a bit, and then they got into a grappling match face to face, and eventually when they were separating, Chidi Njokwani went in for the elbow right to the fucking temple, hit him in the fucking temple with his elbow, and Duško dropped to the ground. The referee stopped it. It was fucking awesome. Great win for Chidi Njokwani. Fight number 10, that was Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Michel Pereira. That one was a really good fight. Now, almost Griffin versus Bonner. Nothing will live up to Griffin versus Bonner, but ultimately it was a really good fight, the co-main event tonight. I thought that Santiago might squeeze out a victory, but ultimately the judges saw that Michel Pereira won the first and the second round, so that, you know, that made the decision overall in Michel's favor. As soon as they raised Michel's hand, Santiago walked out of the ring because, you know, even Santiago was like, hey man, I probably won this fight, but ultimately rounds 1 and 2 where Michel landed more strikes and had more pressure overall in the first and the second round at least, that won Michel the fight. That was great. That was great. I trusted my friend when I made that bet. I was like, hey man, who do you think's going to win out of this fight? And he chose Michel Pereira, and I'm glad that I trusted my friend. And you know, maybe I'll give him a call next time when I bet on UFC 275. But congratulations to Michel Pereira tonight. Good win. And for our main event, Holly Holm versus Ketlen Vieira. Wow, that was a was a tough fucking fight to call. You know, I wouldn't want to be a judge in any of that. That was kind of fucked up. Like, I give round 1 to Holly Holm for having more pressure. Pretty much throughout the entire fucking fight, Holly Holm had more pressure, ultimately. But, like, and then round 2, I give that to Ketlin Vieira for causing more damage and almost tapping out Holly Holm. That was cool, but Holly Holm had really good submission defense as far as that goes. Then as for round 3, that one was a complete fucking tie. You know, I mean, that one could have been anyone's. It could have gone either way. Depends on who you are. Depends on where you see the fight. And ultimately, round number 4, Ketlin Vieira caused more damage on Holly Holm than anything. But there's a great body kick from Holly Holm that sent Ketlin Vieira to the ground. But ultimately, Ketlin Vieira caused way more damage in round 4. And then round number 5, that one was a tricky one. At the beginning, they hugged each other, you know. And one of the things about that is Ketlin Vieira kind of has implied that Holly Holm is one of her heroes because Holly Holm is 40 and Ketlin Vieira is 30, and you know, Ketlin Vieira grew up watching Holly Holm win fights and things like that. So it was a really like hard round to score, but ultimately there was more pressure from Holly Holm. I thought that Holly Holm won that fight in round 5. I thought she got round 5, but ultimately, like, I thought Holly Holm won the entire fight, but the judges saw it differently and they chose Ketlin Vieira to win. So even though I bet on Ketlin Vieira to win, and I'm glad that I won my bet, you know, I just really thought that Holly Holm was robbed. The way that Holly Holm and earlier in the night, Eric Anders, I thought he fucking won that, right? But like the judges saw something else, and same thing happened here for the main event, Holly Holm versus Ketlin Vieira. But what are you gonna do, right? Maybe one of the judges had a bet on Ketlin Vieira, and you know, sometimes that shit kind of works its way into professional sports, but it is what it is. And congratulations to Ketlin Vieira. It was sorry, my eyes were a little bit watery at the beginning of this video because at the end of the fight, I just finished watching the fight, right? At the end of the fight, Ketlin Vieira was like crying in tears and super emotional and stuff like that. And I was like, it's powerful stuff, you know. But I fucking love UFC. I fucking love fighting. Fucking love it. It's great. It was a great night overall. Congratulations to Ketlin Vieira. I'm going to have to say that, you know, fight of the night was almost that Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Michel Pereira. And, you know, knockout of the night, I guess I'd have to give that to Chidi Njokwani for the most part. But ultimately, it was a fucking good night overall. And I just, you know, it would have been nice if Eric Anders won, but you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, right? That was UFC Fight Night, you know, 55, Holm versus Vieira. I had a great time watching it. I think I won how many picks here? 1, 2, 3, 7 out of 11 picks. You know, I picked 7 wins out of the 11 fights that happened tonight, so I'm pretty happy with my results. And you know, keep it a game, keep it fun. You know, whenever you're gambling on sports, it's always 50-50 whenever you flip the coin or whatever. That's what it is ultimately, you know, when it comes to most sports anyway. But I had a great time watching the fights. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a great week. Respect.
Ultimately. Hey, what's up? How's it going? These are my bets for UFC 275, but first of all, I would just like to say that earlier in my betting results for UFC 274, I said that there wasn't too many big names on this card, but I was wrong. Teixeira's like one of the bigger names in the sport because he's been around so long, and there's plenty of big names in this whole thing, which, by the way, I'm not going to be able to pronounce correctly, so give me a break when I'm trying to pronounce some of these names. And also, I just want to say, like, as far as the UFC stuff that I grew up in, I grew up around the MMA boom. Right around the MMA boom, where it was like Forrest Griffin versus Stephen Bonner, stuff like that. As far as that goes, like in the Chuck Liddell versus Randy Couture days and all that stuff. Watching Randy Couture get knocked out by Lyoto Machida was like one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen. Cool front kick. And as far as that goes, that's about where I grew up in. You know, when my dad first started watching UFC, it was like Hoist Gracie versus Ken Shamrock, and I was like, sure, Dad, UFC is gonna catch on. Okay, whatever you say, old man. And you know, he was right though. My dad was 100% right. Just like most of the time our parents can be right. Sometimes you gotta listen to your heart, but most of the time our parents are right. But enough about that. Let's talk about my bets for UFC 275. Again, forgive me if I get some of these names wrong, but let's get started with undercard, the prelims. Here we go. Number 1, Ramona Pascal versus Jocelyn Edwards. I decided to put $5 on the underdog, Ramona Pascal. Now, number 2, when it comes to Ling Na versus Silvana Gomez-Juarez, I decided to put $5 on Silvana Gomez-Juarez. Number 3, when it comes to Kyung Ho Kang versus Batgirl Dana, I decided to put $5 on Batgirl Dana. Sorry, I'm pronouncing these names kind of funny. But yeah, I think, Batgirl's going to do it. But as far as number 4 goes, Andre Fiallo versus Jake Matthews. I have so much faith in Andre Fiallo. If I had a farm, I'd bet the farm on Andre Fiallo. I think Jake Matthews is going to get knocked out by Andrew Fiallo, but we will see. It's a close one. That's what UFC is known for. Picking one of the closest fucking fighters, the best match possible in the world. That's what UFC is known for. So when it comes to Andre Fiallo versus Jake Matthews, I decided to put $5 on Andre Fiallo. Now when it comes to number 5, Hajer Mahashate, sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, versus Steve Garcia, I decided to put money on the name I can pronounce the most, so Steve Garcia Jr. I decided to put $5 on Steve Garcia Jr. Now when it comes to number 6, Joshua Kulabio versus Seung Woo Choi, I decided to put $5 on the favorite, Seung Woo Choi. And when it comes to number 7, Brendan Allen versus Jacob Malkoon, I decided to put $5 on Brendan Allen. Playing it pretty conservatively as far as that goes. Most of them are favorites. I only picked 3 underdogs this time around, but we'll see what happens, you know what I mean? Just because someone's the favorite and someone's the underdog, that doesn't mean anything at all. That really doesn't mean anything at all. It could mean that somebody from their home country decided to put like a couple $1 million on a specific fighter, and that affected the entire betting curve in regards to sports bookies and all that stuff goes. But anyways, let's get to the main card. The first fight on the main card, we got Jack Della Maddalena versus Ramazan Ameev. I decided to put $5 on the favorite, Ramazan Ameev. When it comes to fight number 2 on the main card, Rogerio Bontorin versus Manel Cape. I'm a big Bontorin fan. Like, I've seen Bontorin fight, and I just think he's a really good fighter. So I decided to put $7.50 on Rogerio Bontorin. Good luck, Rogerio. And then when it comes to Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Zhang Wei Li, even though I saw the first one and Joanna Jędrzejczyk's forehead looked like, it made her look like a fucking alien, no offense as far as that goes, but Zhang Weili totally dominated that fight as far as that goes. Even though that happened, just, I'm a Joanna fan, and I hope that Joanna wins that fight, so I decided to put $7.50 on the underdog, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, to win. Now, when it comes to fight number 4, the co-main event, which is Valentina Shevchenko versus Talia Santos, I almost didn't want to bet money on this because, Valentina Shevchenko is such a favorite that I barely get anything back when I bet my money on it anyway, so it's kind of like a high-risk, very low-reward kind of bet. But, I'm a gambler. I love to win. That's what I do. Real gamblers love to win. They say real gamblers love to lose, but I love to win. When it comes to Valentina Shevchenko versus Talia Santos, I decided to put $10 on the favorite, Valentina Shevchenko. Now, when it comes to the main event, it's going to be fight of the night. That's what I feel. I feel like it's going to be fight of the night. I feel like people are going to be talking about it for a long time because, hey, I think that Glover Teixeira is going to end up winning against Yuri Prochazka. Even though Yuri Prochazka clearly has a couple advantages in favor for him, such as age, things like that, I feel like Glover Teixeira is going to pull out a win on this one. I don't know how. Probably a submission, 3rd round. I think he's going to play it very conservatively and eventually catch Yuri Prochazka in some sort of rear naked choke, kind of something like that. He's going to do something big like that, and I feel like that's what's going to happen. So I decided to put $20, sweating here, $20 on the underdog, and that is Glover Teixeira to win against Yuri Prochazka, which is that's a tough bet to make. Yuri is one of the bigger favorites, and as far as sports betting goes, I'd get a good take for Glover Teixeira winning, but right now it does seem like Prochazka might be the favorite, but we will see, don't never count out either fighter, Yuri can come and win with the knockout, and Glover can come and win with the knockout. Both can tap each other out, but I feel like Glover Teixeira is going to have a more conservative Iron Turtle kind of guard, even though Iron Turtle is the name of that other fighter. What the hell's his name there? That Jung Park. I think that's his name. I just feel like Glover Teixeira is the tortoise and Yuri Prochazka is the hare, and I just feel like the tortoise is going to win against the hare in this fucking UFC 275 main event. But those are my picks for UFC 275. I should have done more research, but ultimately I decided to pick a few underdogs and then a bunch of favorites as far as that goes. Nothing special, but I bought the pay-per-view today for $64.99 Canadian. And, it's going to be great. I asked UFC Fight Pass for a promo code so I can get a discount. They said, go fuck yourself. Thank you for watching. But ultimately, I am going to enjoy myself on fight night. I'm going to buy myself case of beer, and I'm going to live stream my reaction towards it. So I'll have a beer each fight. That's like, how many fights we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's like 12 beers, man. Actually, I'll save my, my live reaction for the main event. So I'll be streaming my live reaction on this channel as far as that goes. But I hope that Glover wins, and I hope that Joanna gets some redemption and beats up Zhang Wei Li this time. But we saw what happened the first time. The decision went to Zhang Wei Li. But, anything can happen on any given day. On any given Sunday is what they say about NFL, but the same kind of applies to the UFC or any kind of mixed martial arts event. You know what I mean? So anyways, thank you for watching. Those are my bets for UFC 275, and I hope that you enjoy that night. Respect. Cheers.
Good morning. Just waking up right now, but here are my bets for UFC 276. Now, when it comes to the preliminary card and the undercard, all that stuff, I decided not to bet on the prelims and the undercard. Even though there are a lot of big names on the prelims and the undercard, I'm rooting for Uriah Hall in particular. I'm rooting for Robbie Lawler in particular. Even though there are big names on the undercard, preliminary card, whatever you want to call it, I just decided to bet on the main card this time around. I got the main card right in front of me, and I'm going to choose who I'm betting on to win. So here we go. When it comes to Pedro Munhoz versus Sean O'Malley, I know that Pedro Munhoz is a tough guy. Don't get me wrong. Whenever I see somebody with that much cauliflower in their ears, I know that they're a tough son of a bitch. Pedro Munhoz is definitely really tough. He's really strong, and he's definitely going to make Sean O'Malley work for it if Sean O'Malley wants to win this time around. I'm rooting for Sean O'Malley to win. I'm a big Sean O'Malley fan. He has really good striking accuracy, all that stuff, and I just his attitude towards the sport, for the most part, I believe is a good attitude towards the sport, and I believe that he's going to be the victor in this particular bout. So I decided to bet $20 on Sean O'Malley. Now, when it comes to the women flyweight bout between Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate, I'm a huge Miesha Tate fan. I think I said that before. I can't remember. I might have said that before. I definitely said that before to one of my friends who loves the UFC. I'm like, yeah, I'm a huge Miesha Tate fan. But when it comes to Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate, I feel like Miesha Tate already fucking retired a couple of times already. I feel like she's just doing it for the money now instead of for the love of the sport. No offense. I mean, that's how some people are, but there was a time when I was like, yeah, I love you, Miesha Tate. And she's still super gorgeous, super beautiful. That's not what the UFC is about. But when it comes to Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate, I would love to see Lauren Murphy come out the victor in this time around. In fact, I tweeted to Lauren Murphy, hit her 1,000 times per minute or something like that, something great, 100 times per minute, whatever it is. I know that's whatever, but I'm rooting for Lauren Murphy this time around, so I'm going to have to put $20 on Lauren Murphy. So hopefully she gets the win. We'll see how that goes. Now there's a middleweight bout. This one I wasn't too sure on who to bet for. It wasn't like I would look at the names. Oh, that guy's going to win. It wasn't like that. So I decided to do a little bit of research as far as that goes. I watched a Sean Strickland fight. I watched a few Sean Strickland fights, when he versed Nordine Taleb and when he versed Alex Garcia, when he versed Bubba McDaniel, and I came up with this. Obviously he has a very strong fight IQ and he has very good accuracy, and he performed a really great choke by Bubba McDaniel, right? That was great. That was fucking awesome when Sean Strickland choked out Bubba McDaniel. And I watched a few Alex Pereira fights. Alex Pereira versus Bruno Silva, Alex Pereira versus Andreas Michailidis, on Alex Pereira versus Jason Wilness. And after watching those three fights and also Sean Strickland's three fights, what really pushed me towards betting for Alex Pereira is likely he'll have Glover Teixeira in his corner for UFC 276, and just the fact that he's being trained by Glover Teixeira and all that, just, imparting that wisdom towards him and all that, and, mix that with his glory days. I'm just going to have to bet on Alex Pereira to win. So it's when it comes to Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira, I know that Sean Strickland is awesome. He's clearly awesome at the sport, and he's very, he has his guard up all the time. I was watching those fights, and it was aggressive conservative, and that's sort of the kind of fighting style you kind of need at that level. You know what I mean? You got to be tight aggressive, in poker, for example. But anyways, when it comes to Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira, the thing that pushed me towards Alex Pereira is ultimately Glover Teixeira being in Alex Pereira's corner. So I'm going to have to put $20 on Alex Pereira to win. Good luck, Alex. Now, when it comes to
Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. Max Holloway is a tough son of a bitch. We all know that. We've all seen him fight hundreds of times, not hundreds of times, 23 times, 30 times at least in the UFC or something like that. I forget what it was. There's a high number of that. We've all seen Max Holloway kick ass. And that thing kind of like makes me nervous just a little bit, you know what I mean, as far as that goes. But, just Alexander Volkanovski once said, I'm going to be champion for a long time. And I believe the guy. I feel like he's taking his training seriously. That video of him just scrounging down a meal and all that stuff, taking a few days off and stuff like that aside. But there's also a video of like Max Holloway playing a bunch of video games, taking the day off aside. I feel like Alexander Volkanovski is going to win this one around, I feel like he's going to defend the title. And one of my friends was saying, like, I feel like Alexander's going to win the title, like, defense, and then he's going to go up in weight class and win another title. But I feel like for this one, Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway, I feel like Alexander Volkanovski is going to win. So I'm going to have to put $20 on Alexander Volkanovski to win. Now, when it comes to our main event, this one is a tough one. Because as soon as Jared Cannonier figures somebody out, that somebody is fucking done. For the most part, that's what I've seen. Like, Brunson versus Cannonier. When Cannonier figured out Brunson, you could see it in his eyes. Like, everything went slow motion, like... And he walked right in there and he just, like, destroyed Brunson. So as soon as Cannonier, if he figures out Adesanya, then Adesanya will be in trouble. But I mean, Adesanya has a lot of different, styles to like switch up his game, right? The style bender, right? That's how that name goes and all that stuff. But like, just like if Cannonier figures out Adesanya, then it's going to be a very tough one for Adesanya to come out ahead. Like I know it's, I know it's all a gamble, 50-50. Anybody can win on any given day. And like, I mean, the fact that Jared Cannonier is such an underdog, that is a juicy looking bet. You know what I mean? Like if you win this bet, you're winning like 3 times your money back or something like that. But it's just the way things are, the way things feel, the way everybody else is kind of feeling. Everybody's just kind of feeling Adesanya here. And I'm going to have to play with my mind here when I'm making this bet. And I have bet on Adesanya previously when I started betting in UFC in the first place. So I'm just going to stick with my winner there, Adesanya. And even though like Cannonier can figure out Adesanya and like completely rock Adesanya's world, I feel like Israel Adesanya is going to come out the victor in this current bout for the middleweight title. So I feel like he's going to defend the middleweight title once again. So for my bet, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier, I'm going to have to put $20 on Israel Adesanya to win. So those are my bets for UFC 276. I know it's going to be an awesome show. It's going to be a great show. There's lots of great fights that will happen. And just recently, like that UFC Fight Night Austin, I believe it was like that one was fucking awesome. Like I thought Qatar won, but judges are there. I'm here watching, like, whoa, on the edge of my seat. And, but, it is what it is. And, congratulations, Emmett, on that victory in Austin. And, those are my bets for UFC 276, though. So I hope that everybody enjoys the show. And thank you for watching. Cheers. Respect.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? I'm just enjoying my long weekend. I still kind of got bedhead going on here as far as everything goes here. And I got my bets right here for, UFC 276. These are my betting results for all the money that I put down for the main card fights. So here we go. When it comes to Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz, I got my money back because unfortunately it was declared a no contest due to a really rough eye poke from Sean O'Malley to Pedro Munoz. I was enjoying the fight up until the eye poke, and I think that Pedro Munoz was winning the fight until that eye poke happened. But, you can never be 100% sure when it's like that. They were just getting warmed up. It was the middle of the second round or whatever. And, I'm looking forward to whenever they have a rematch, if and when they have a rematch. But, that's how that one went. I got my money back for that no contest. So, I guess that's a win. Getting my money back is always good, right? But I got my $20 back for that one. And then when it comes to Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberina, I got to say I was really shocked here. I think this is when
age kind of came into play here because Robbie Lawler is like 40 years old and Brian Barberina is only 33 years old. And when it came to that fight, it just looked like Robbie Lawler was having trouble keeping up with Brian Barberina. So Robbie Lawler ended up going down. Barberina ended up winning by TKO, stoppage due to punches. And, very good work for Brian Barberina. I was shocked by that. Like, I almost wanted to change my bet to Brian Barberina when I saw the press conference, just the way that Brian Barberina looked so damn confident going into the fight. But Robbie Lawler ended up getting knocked out by Brian Barberina yesterday. So that cost me $20, which I mean is okay. That's part of gambling, sports betting. I love it. Anyways, good work for Brian Barberina. Respect. And then when it came to Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira, fight of the night. No, not fight of the night. Actually, like knockout of the night for sure. As far as that goes, like I was really shocked what happened. Alex Pereira did very well, and what kind of like was unfortunate was Sean Strickland did so good at the fucking press conference. Like, he was talking so much shit. He was working up a storm. At first, Alex Pereira was the favorite, and then after Sean Strickland was talking so much shit at the press conference, Sean Strickland became the favorite. So I was actually really kind of rooting for Sean Strickland just because of the amount of shit talk he had at the press conference. He did really good work in regards to amping up the fight, it was just sad to see, to a certain extent, Alex Pereira knocked out Sean Strickland, but it was good. I bet on Alex Pereira to win, and I ended up getting $37.39 for my $20 that I ended up betting. So I just want to say, good knockout by Alex Pereira. Respect. That was awesome. That made the pay-per-view worth it after that disqualification, no contest draw after O'Malley Munez with the eye poke there. That Alex Pereira knockout kind of made the pay-per-view worth buying, to a certain extent. And then when it comes to Volkanovski versus Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski versus Holloway, everybody thought that Holloway was going to do a bit better. I thought Max Holloway was going to do a bit better, but all 5 rounds, I feel, were dominated by Alexander Volkanovski. And even though Alexander Volkanovski won the first 2 fights, I feel like Max Holloway maybe won the second fight. And I thought it would be a much more closer bout than it was. But Alexander Volkanovski ended up dominating overall. So there's really good work for Alexander Volkanovski as far as that fight goes. So like, that jab was stiff and it totally worked for him. And then Israel Adesanya, Adesanya versus Cannonier, that went for full decision. I ended up winning my bet with that one. Well, Volkanovski actually won $30.53 for Volkanovski. Okay, sorry, the camera cut out there. Like I was saying, I won $30.53 with Alexander Volkanovski winning against Max Holloway. Now, as for the Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier fight, I was very entertained. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but at the same time, Cannonier versus Adesanya, I thought was pretty damn entertaining. And as far as my bets go for that one, Israel Adesanya ended up winning me $25.33 and making my grand total for the night. I bet $100 and I walked away with $113.27. So as far as that goes, I consider that a success. It's not entirely like... It's not like I won $1 million or anything like that, but as far as sports betting goes, sports gambling goes, I had a really good time betting on the fights. I had a really good time buying the fights. I'm glad that I purchased the pay-per-view and I got to live stream my reaction for it. It was a really good night overall. So, well, respect to all the fighters, and again, just thank you to Alex Pereira, and that eye poke was sad with the O'Malley Munez thing, but thanks to Volkanovski and thanks to Israel Adesanya for winning me some money though. So, everybody have a great day, and I'll see you again for my 277 results, and I hope that's going to be a good one as well. Cheers, respect, everybody, take care.
Hello, how's it going? I didn't bet on UFC 277 because it was the same month as UFC 276, which I did bet on. or something like that. And as for this new pay-per-view, I got some stuff to do today, so I'm going to get through this as fast as I can, but I have 5 bets for the main card, and I'll tell you my main reason. I won't really dive into why I'm betting on these fighters, other than the fact that most of them are the favorite, and I chose one underdog, and that's what I'm doing for UFC 278. So, since I got stuff to do, let's get through this quickly. When it comes to the light heavyweight bout between Tyson Pedro versus Harry Hunsucker, I decided to put $20 on Tyson Pedro. Now, when it comes to the heavyweight bout between Marcin Tybura versus Alexander Romanov, I decided to put $20 on Alexander Romanov. Now, when it comes to the bantamweight bout between Jose Aldo versus Merab Valashvili, whatever the fuck his name is, I decided to bet $20 on Jose Aldo, the underdog in this particular fight. Good luck, Jose Aldo. Now, when it comes to the middleweight bout between Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold, I decided to pick the favorite here, Paulo Costa. Hopefully he doesn't drink a bottle of wine before this fight. And then when it comes to the welterweight title bout, the main event between Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, I'm going to have to play Kamaru Usman in this one, so I put $20 on Kamaru Usman. Okay, and those are my bets for UFC 278. Sorry I didn't make bets for UFC 277, but my plan, and I'm sticking to it this year, is 12 months, $1,200 for UFC events overall is basically my plan. And also, since I have wonderful babies, I'm going to start my Christmas shopping this week, so I really got to stick to my plan with that $1,200 that I originally started with and just kind of roll with this. So I bet 100 on one UFC pay-per-view per month instead of that last month when we had 2 pay-per-views in the same month, if that makes sense. But good work by what's there, the greatest, the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, for winning back her title. I was thinking that Juliana Pena, I was thinking that it was her time to win, but Amanda Nunes was like, nope, I want that title back, and she got it back. So good on her. Respect to all of you fans out there, and thanks for watching. Cheers. Hey, what's up? How's it going? I just wanted to share quickly and quietly with you my betting results for UFC 278 and UFC Paris, as well as my bets for UFC 279 today. So here we go. UFC 278 results. That didn't go over too well when it came to Marcin Tybura versus Alexander Romanov. I bet for Alexander Romanov. Marcin Tybura ended up winning. Ouch. When it came to Tyson Pedro versus Harry Hunsucker, thank God I picked Tyson Pedro. Tyson Pedro took that. That was fucking awesome. When it came to Lucy Pudilova versus Wu Yanin, I chose Wu Yanin. Lucy Pudilova ended up dominating. When it came to Merab Valashvili versus Jose Aldo, Merab Valashvili ended up winning, even though I thought Jose Aldo did a pretty good job in the fight, kind of, anyways. When it comes to Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold, God, that was such an awesome fight. When Luke Rockhold was like rubbing his blood all over Paulo Costa's face, that was fucking amazing. Paulo Costa ended up winning, so I ended up winning some money there. And when it came to Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman, unbelievable. Shocked me. Shocked the world. That fucking kick to Kamaru Usman's fucking head, knocking him out, making him go like that. It was fucking insane. It was awesome. I loved it. Leon Edwards cost me some money there, but it was totally worth it. It was probably knockout of the year, possibly. The only other kick that is as good as that is when Michael Chandler kicked Tony Ferguson. But other than that, those are my bets for UFC 278. I bet about $120, and I walked away with $48. Ouch. That was rough when it came to UFC 278. Another rough night. UFC Paris. I was excited about UFC Paris because I'm a huge Tai Tuivasa fan. When it came to Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa, Cyril Gane ended up winning. But, respect to Tai Tuivasa, I bet on Tai Tuivasa, and Cyril Gane cost me some money there. So, bet $20 on UFC Paris. That's it. And I'll never see that $20 ever again. Okay, now for my bets for UFC 279. When it comes to my bets, I decided to choose 4 bets, saving a little bit of money now. So I decided to bet $40 this time around, $10 each as far as that goes. When it comes to UFC 279, we've got Macy Chiasson versus Irene Aldana. I decided to bet $10 on Irene Aldana. Now when it comes to Daniel Rodriguez versus Li Jingliang, I decided to choose to bet on Li Jingliang. So I put $10 on him. When it comes to Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland, I was a huge Khamzat Chimaev fan. I was on the hype, all that stuff. But as soon as
as soon as he missed weight by 7-8 pounds kind of thing, I was just kind of, whatever. So when it came to Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland, I'm hoping that Kevin Holland pulls off a miracle and, defeats Khamzat Chimaev, but we'll see what happens tonight, I guess, as far as that goes. But I put $10 on Kevin Holland to win. He's a huge underdog. Good luck, Kevin Holland. Now, when it comes to Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz, I didn't expect that to become the main event, but Khamzat Chimaev kind of fucked everything up. But when it comes to the main event, which is El Kakui versus good old Nate Diaz, any Diaz brother is fucking awesome usually. But I'm a huge Tony Ferguson fan, but I'm also a huge Nate Diaz fan. So with Tony Ferguson on his losing streak, I feel like Tony Ferguson has something to prove this time around, that he belongs in the UFC, all that stuff. I get that. So I feel like he's going to try extra hard to defeat Nate Diaz, but I'm going to have to play favorites here. A little bit of nepotism as far as that goes. I decided to put $10 on the underdog, Nate Diaz. Now, I hope that works out. But those are my bets for UFC 279. I hope everything goes well there. And as far as renting the pay-per-view goes and all that, tonight I won't be streaming any live broadcast or anything like that. But I will share my results the next day or the next day. But yeah. Those are my bets for UFC 278. That didn't go over well. Ouch, that one hurt. And then UFC Paris, I was just making a fanboy bet. Tai Tuivasa is awesome with the shoey and stuff like that. I love that one picture with Cyril Gahn and Tai Tuivasa doing a shoey together. I thought that was awesome. Some kind of brotherhood, all that jazz. But UFC 279 ought to be pretty exciting, I think. I was pretty excited for Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz, but it seemed like Nate Diaz didn't really want to fight Khamzat Chimaev anyway, so everything seemed to kind of work out there for Nate Diaz as far as his possible last fight in the UFC goes. So I kind of hope that Nate Diaz finishes on top, although part of me hopes that Tony Ferguson finally breaks his losing streak. But again, I'm rooting for Nate Diaz tonight, and I hope that everybody has a good time overall. But go Nate Diaz and go Kevin Holland, even though Khamzat Chimaev seems to be fucking unstoppable. I'm really excited for tonight, and I hope that you all enjoy the show. So thanks for listening. Those are my bets and some of my results from a few events past, and everybody have a good weekend. Cheers. Respect. Good morning. How's it going? Here are my UFC 279 betting results, and I just want to say that overall UFC 279 turned out to be a pretty good success for the company and the fans overall, it seems. And the way that whole Khamzat Chimaev missed weight thing, and the way that whole press conference was canceled due to the violence backstage and all that stuff, even though they had all of that up against them, I think overall it turned out to be a success for, like I said, the company and the fans. So here are my betting results for UFC 279. First of all, I added one more bet. Last time I showed you who I was betting on. I made 4 bets when I showed you who I was betting on, and I added one more bet as far as this goes. So let's get to it. The bet I added was Ion Cutelaba versus Johnny Walker. When it came to Ion Cutelaba versus Johnny Walker, that was great. It was a great win for Johnny Walker. I am happy for him because too, I bet on Johnny Walker. So Johnny Walker ended up winning me some money there. Good job on Johnny there. Thanks, buddy. And then when it came to Macy Chiasson versus Irene Aldana, wow. Just wow, you know what I mean? Like everybody was freaking out how that was like the first up kick to the body that ended a fight. So like kick to the liver, nothing better than that, as far as that goes for a win as Irene Aldana got. Like that's a hell of a big win for her career to be like the first person to knock somebody out with an up kick to the liver in the UFC, as far as I know anyways. But it was great. I bet on Irene Aldana, bet $10 on Irene Aldana, and Irene Aldana won us some money there. Good job, Irene. And then next fight we had Daniel Rodriguez versus Li Jingliang. That fight was interesting. I think Li Jingliang was winning, but I think that everybody else kind of thought that as well, except for the judges. The judges were there. I don't know what entirely they were looking for. I think maybe Li Jingliang got robbed, just the way Dana White said that Li Jingliang got robbed. But it is what it is. I bet $10 on Li Jingliang, and Daniel Rodriguez ended up walking away with the split decision. So Good job on Daniel Rodriguez earning that decision, I guess, as far as that goes. It cost me $10, but respect. Now, when it came to Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland, I hopped on the Khamzat Chimaev hype before he did the whole missing weight mishap thing. Like, I was a huge Khamzat Chimaev fan, and then he missed weight, and then after that, I was just like, I'm not that huge of a fan anymore, even though I think he's on the way to become a champion, and there's no stopping him. It's a skill that he worked on and that he earned, and he's talented, very talented as far as fighting goes, and odds are he's going to become champion one day, and there's no stopping him, it seems, maybe. But we'll see what happens in the future with his career. But Khamzat Chimaev ended up choking out Kevin Holland. Like, he made Kevin Holland look like an amateur last night. It was intense. So, I mean, like, really good job on Khamzat Chimaev's part. I'm not much of a huge fan anymore after he fucking missed weight, 8 pounds, when he had so much time to prepare. He had so much time to cut the weight and all that stuff. But, I kind of dropped out as a Khamzat Chimaev fan. But I don't think there's anybody that's going to stop him as far as, like, becoming champion goes. I mean, I think he might just earn his way to becoming a champion no matter what anybody says, or no matter if anybody is his fan or not. So, but I ended up betting $10 on Kevin Holland because I was pissed off about the fact that he missed weight. Khamzat Chimaev missed weight, and I was pissed off about that, and how like the main event was supposed to be Diaz versus Chimaev, all that stuff. So I bet on Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland ended up getting choked out really fucking early, and Khamzat Chimaev made Kevin Holland look like an amateur. No offense, Kevin Holland, you're still an awesome fighter. It just was Khamzat Chimaev's night and fight as far as that goes. And I like what Khamzat Chimaev said in the after fight post press conference kind of thing, where he was like, Nate Diaz is lucky that he didn't have to fight me. He has to thank God that he didn't fight me. I thought that was kind of fun, but it is what it is. Khamzat Chimaev has a big future in the sport, and clearly he's already a big star in the sport, even though he might be UFC's #1 most hated guy right now before missing weight and all that shit. But it is what it is. Good job, Khamzat Chimaev, choking out Kevin Holland. Okay, now when it came to Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz, I kind of wanted Tony Ferguson to finally fucking win one after his, what's his streak at now? 4 losses in a row or something like that. But I kind of wanted Tony Ferguson to kind of pick it up and actually earn a win, like the old Tony Ferguson, the old, 12 winning streak Tony Ferguson or whatever it was, I can't remember, but like that old Tony Ferguson, compared to this new, older Tony Ferguson, it's just, it's a little bit sad, but it is what it is. That's how fighters go once they're on top of the world, and then they start slowly declining after their prime, but it is what it is. Tony Ferguson put up a good fight, but ultimately Nate Diaz ended up winning, and I bet on Nate Diaz to win, so I got pretty lucky there, and I won some money there, so I was pretty happy with my results overall as far as betting goes. And classic Nate Diaz showboating for the camera when he chokes out Tony Ferguson there. That was great. But overall, I think UFC 279 turned out to be a success. I had a great time watching the pay-per-view. I hope you did too. I was still upset about Khamzat Chimaev missing weight, but I mean, it's a profession that, I'm not part of that profession. I'm a gambler. I fucking love gambling. And, but the way that went though, I was just so fucking disappointed in Khamzat was like, yo, he was like one of my heroes. And then he misses weight by so many pounds. If he missed weight by 2 pounds, then I think I would let it go, but it was just 8 pounds. That just shows that you weren't serious for taking the fight seriously at all. You just didn't give a fuck, Khamzat, but it is what it is, I'm couch coaching. I'm not there. I'm not the fighter who's actually have to go into the fucking UFC octagon and all that shit. So, whatever it happened, it is what it is. And there's this whole theory that Khamzat Chimaev maybe did it on purpose. I don't think that's the case, but the theory was that the UFC was trying to screw over Nate Diaz by giving him Khamzat Chimaev, and then Khamzat Chimaev missed weight on purpose to fuck everything up. And then the fights changed, and that put Nate Diaz on top. So there's this whole theory that Khamzat did it on purpose. I don't think that's the case. But again, just hats off to all the fighters for rolling with the punches when all of the fights changed up a bit. Like Li Jingliang was like, yeah, I'll fight whoever, whatever. And then Kevin Holland was like, yeah, okay, I'll fight Khamzat. And, so that part was cool, but it was sad when one of my favorite fighters became one of my least favorite fighters because he missed weight by not taking his own profession seriously. And I hope that he got his pay cut in half just for fucking missing weight. But at the same time, it is what it is. Professionals, right? Whatever. But thanks for watching. Those are my betting results for UFC 279. Here's the damage done, or the winnings that I've earned there. And I look forward to UFC 280. We'll see how that one goes. I'll have my bets lined up around the week of. And thank you for watching. Everybody have a great new week. It's Sunday now, so I hope you have a great new week and enjoy yourselves. Take care. Respect.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? So about the other UFCs, that was pretty cool. I'm still thinking about the kick from fucking Usman. Not from Usman, sorry, from Leon Edwards to Usman. That was so awesome when it was a minute left in the entire fight, and for it just to happen like lightning, and it was just cool. I dug that. So I'm still kind of like on that one. Like before that, it was like Awesome Michael Chandler towards what's his name, Tony Ferguson. That was a great kick, and I'm not too sure what the knockout of the year is going to be so far. But I was just thinking about the UFC past, and like Ngannou versus Gon, that wasn't as eventful as I thought it would be, but it was nice to see what's his name have some really strong takedowns as far as that goes, because he took Gon to the ground instead of swinging for the fences like he usually does, it seems. But that was more tactful because both are such high-powered weapons when it comes to mixed martial arts. But anyways, let's talk about UFC 280. I was kind of ranting there about the UFC before this, but let's talk about 280 and who I'm going to bet on. I'll try to explain why afterwards, but most of the time it's just going to go right through it. But here's the $100 I'm spending on for UFC 280. All right, when it comes to the women's flyweight bout, Caitlin Chukagian versus Manon Fiorot. I can't really pronounce names properly, apparently, but Manon Fiorot is who I'm picking to win that fight. Just with all of the buzz and the hype and all of that stuff, she's the favorite right now. I am playing the favorite. I know Caitlin Chukagian can level her if she gets the opportunity to do so. That is why she's ranked number 1. But Manon Fiorot is like on her way to the top. Hopefully, my $20 is fucking riding on it. Hopefully she's on her way to the top and she takes down Caitlin Chukagian for 280. We will see what happens though. I'm betting the favorite there, but Caitlin Chukagian is no joke. So good luck, Manon Fiorot. And when it comes to the lightweight bout, Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot, I'm going to have to play Mateusz Gamrot, and here's why. Even though Beneil Dariush is probably going to win and all that stuff, even though all that, I feel like the fact that he's coming off an injury is going to play into this fight here, and there's going to be some hesitation possibly on Dariush's psychology, but he is a professional, so never count him out. But I am going to choose Mateusz Gamrot, even though a lot of my friends are saying that Dariush is totally going to come back after his injury and do this and all that. It can happen. It can totally happen. But as far as that fight goes, I'm choosing to place $20 on Mateusz Gamrot. Go Mateusz Gamrot, the couch coach. Roots for you. Respect. Now when it comes to the bantamweight bout between Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, Petr Yan is probably going to win, because my little brother was asking me, he was like, hey man, do you honestly think that Sean O'Malley can level Petr Yan? I was like, probably not. I mean, Aljamain had a hard time winning, never mind knocking him out as far as that goes. So I feel like Petr Yan is probably going to do it. He is the favorite here, absolutely 100%. But I love the delusional personality that Sean O'Malley has, to a certain extent. When I say like just the way he's like, I can beat anyone in the world, and you need that as a fighter, right? Like he has that kind of like that really strong urge to like overcome that possible reality that Petr Yan just might level him. But it's anyone's fucking game. I think that's a true coin flip, but I am going to root for the underdog here. He's number 12. He's not in the top 10 or anything like that, but he does have a chance, a puncher's chance for sure. I think Sean O'Malley can do it, but I believe that my brother is right. Petr Yan is going to come up with the win, but I'm just this is my underdog bet here, man. This is my underdog bet. Sean O'Malley is coming in at plus 255, so I get 2.5 times my money back if Sean O'Malley can do this. So let's root for the underdog here for this bantamweight bout. Sean O'Malley, $20 to win. Okay. And now when it comes to UFC 280's bantamweight title bout between Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw, I am a fan of TJ Dillashaw. Yes, I've seen The Ultimate Fighter and all of that stuff, but I'm also a fan of Aljamain Sterling, and The Ultimate Fighter was kind of a long time ago. I feel like Aljamain Sterling is going to backpack TJ Dillashaw, even though he has a really good defense. He has really good offense too, obviously, but like as far as this fight goes, I just believe that Aljo is going to do it when it comes to Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. But again, I am a fan of both fighters. TJ Dillashaw can definitely win this one, but so can Aljamain Sterling. I hope Aljamain Sterling wins. He is the favorite in this, and I loved his fight against Petr Yan, even though a lot of people said it was kind of uneventful, but he had more control overall in that fight against Petr Yan, and he's a champion for a reason. I believe he's keeping his championship this time around, but anything can happen. Good luck TJ Dillashaw, but also good luck Aljamain Sterling. $20 Sterling. Now when it comes to the main event, the lightweight title bout between Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, man, this is a tough one. Like, I'm going to obviously bet on Charles Oliveira, just saying that right off the hop. I mean, he's earned that, from his fans. I'm a fan, definitely, so I'm going to stick with Oliveira until the very end. And I don't think it's going to come next weekend or whatever it is, whenever the pay-per-view is. I don't think that's when his reign is going to end. Like, he has to win the title back from that unfortunate weight incident where he didn't make weight, but I believe that Charles Oliveira is going to win that title back and continue his legacy of kicking ass the way he can. But the fact that Islam Makhachev has like Khabib, the great one. He's the great one of UFC, the way Wayne Gretzky is the great one of hockey. You know, I don't care that all the people are just like saying, oh, all of his fights were like rigged or whatever. You know, all that shit where they're saying that they picked like Khabib's fights were like picked for him to win specifically and all that shit that they say. Khabib earned it, man. He earned the respect of everybody. And I think everybody who's doing that is just kind of making an envious kind of thing. Maybe if Khabib was back, I feel like he might beat Charles Oliveira, but I guess we'll never know. But anyways, yeah, so Islam Makhachev has like Khabib and that lucky little leprechaun Hasbulla in his corner. So just the energy for Islam and the fact that Islam is so powerful in the first place, Makhachev, and he has the meshing style that Khabib has, he might be able to counteract Charles Oliveira's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it's really hard to say here. This is a coin flip again. Like most of these are coin flip fights, that's what the UFC is known for, but like Islam Makhachev is the favorite, but I'm going to go with the underdog Charles Oliveira here, and he was a champion for a reason, and he made it look like he walked through Justin Gaethje there like he was nothing to a certain extent, and I hope the same happens when it comes to Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, but Islam Makhachev is no joke. I know, man. Hasbulla would be lucky in anybody's corner, you know what I mean? But as far as that goes, though, like, I am choosing Charles Oliveira to win. And those are my bets for UFC 280. That's $100 placed. And again, those bets are Kalen Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot. I'm choosing Manon Fiorot. Beneil Dariush versus Matuzo Gamrot. I am choosing Gamrot because of Dariush's injury. And Petrian versus Sean O'Malley. I think Petrian's going to win, but I'm choosing Sean O'Malley. And then Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. TJ Dillashaw has skills, but Aljamain Sterling, I believe he's going to keep his title. But Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, that one's going to be very exciting to see what happens, because I don't really see Charles Oliveira submitting Islam Makhachev, but at the same time I don't really see Islam Makhachev winning against Charles Oliveira, so we will have to see what happens, and that's the sport. You know, two great warriors up against one another. That's UFC, ladies and gentlemen. Go Charles Oliveira. I hope you win. Respect. Those are my bets for UFC 280. Okay, I'm the couch coach. I will see you later. Good night, everybody. Take care.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's been a good day. So I spent all fucking day trying to avoid the news for UFC 280. I've been trying to avoid the news of who won, who took out whom, who submitted whom, what happened with the main card, because I bet $100 on the main card for UFC 280. So, I bought my pay-per-view a week ago, and I wasn't quite aware of, like, I knew there was a time difference between here and Abu Dhabi, obviously, but I wasn't quite aware of the UFC making the time difference, so that the pay-per-view would be at 1 o'clock Central Time. I didn't know about that. So I spent my day, which we call it, just really avoiding the news about UFC 280. But the pay-per-view did live up to the hype, I believe. So even though there was a couple of heartbreaks and whatnot, but at the same time, that was a really good show overall. It was a really good event, and it was totally worth the pay-per-view that I earned to fucking buy, pay for, watch, all that shit. It was totally worth it, 100%. So here I am, just relaxing on the rocks, all that stuff. Just chilling, doing my thing. And I'll share with you my results, I guess, for betting on UFC 280. Hopefully it's not too windy. I'm sure the wind picks up on the fucking microphone pretty damn good around here. It's all windy like this. Alright, I got my results right here. Now, Manon Fiorot versus Kalen Chookagian. That was a fucking wicked fight. Kalen Chookagian is always super fucking intense, and like when she's doing her thing, when she's doing her combinations and all that, she's always like and that just adds to the intensity. And when the judges they hear her doing that as part of her game plan and all that, like there's a little bit of a psych out edge there when she's going all that stuff. But like as far as Manon Fiorot versus Kalen Chookagian goes, it was the decision was for Manon Fiorot to win. So I got lucky there because I bet $20 on Manon Fiorot to win, and I ended up winning $30 from that $20, which is a pretty good take as far as sports betting goes. But I played the favorite, and I got lucky there and won. So good job on Manon Fiorot. And when it comes to Matuz Gamrot, sorry if the wind's making those sounds on the fucking microphone, right? When it comes to Matuz Gamrot versus Beneil Dariush, now I bet into this thinking, hey, Beneil Dariush is going to be a bit hesitant due to his injury, but his professionalism knows no bounds because Beneil Dariush brought the fucking fight tonight, and he really did good at
backing off Mateusz Gamrot's advances, and overall he won, and I bet $20 on Mateusz Gamrot, so Beneil Dariush cost me $20, but it was totally fucking worth it. Respect to Beneil Dariush. Ouch. That's the heartbreak, man. Okay, now when it comes to Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, this one was a little bit fucked up, man. Petr Yan had about 5 minutes of control time in a 15-minute fight. That means over 1/3 of the fight, control of his opponent. He had top control over his opponent overall. That's 1/3 of the entire fight that he was on top. But the judges must have saw something different, because Sean O'Malley did land a couple more significant strikes. But ultimately, that 5 minutes of control time, I thought that would be enough for Petr Yan in order for him to win and take this fucking match. But luckily, I bet on Sean O'Malley, and the judges saw in favor of Sean O'Malley. Now, I believe the judges chose Sean O'Malley to win because of the fact that he cut open Petr Yan on top of his right eyebrow, or was it his left eyebrow? One of his eyebrows, anyways, right there where that soft tissue is, where, you know, it cuts open so easily if you hit anybody accurately, like Sean O'Malley knows how to do accurately. And I believe that damage overall is why they chose Sean O'Malley to win overall, the judges combined. I always think about it this way when there's damage done. If it was like an hour-long fight and just kept going until somebody dies, Sean O'Malley probably would have won, because there's so much bleeding on Petr Yan's part, you know what I mean? Like all the blood that Petr Yan had to fucking spew out. You're spewing blood all over the fucking canvas. So I believe that damage had a lot to do with why Sean O'Malley won, obviously. But Sean O'Malley ended up winning that bout, and he ended up winning me $72 because he was like the biggest underdog on the main card fight. And I selected him due to his accuracy with punches and things like that. And it was just a really odd kind of fight, you know, where I thought maybe Petr Yan won that if you were to judge 3 rounds, the 15-minute fight. The fact that Petr Yan had 5 minutes of control time mixed with the aggression that Petr Yan had, I believe that Petr Yan won that fight. But the damage done, again, above the eye of Petr Yan, where he started bleeding all over the octagon and all that stuff on the canvas, I believe that's what won the fight for O'Malley, and that is what it is. Thanks, Sean O'Malley, for winning me a couple bucks there. Good job for the underdog. Now, when it comes to Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw, you know, I was a TJ Dillashaw fan at the very beginning of it all, and then he had that whole, like, steroid or whatever it was, kind of, that whole fucking backlash thing where he did a bunch of steroids or something like that, started juicing up or whatever. And then after that, it just took away from the sport. It took away from the sport's purity. And, you know, like I'm not a huge fan of TJ Dillashaw as much as I was before his scandal, but I'm still a fan of TJ Dillashaw. But I'm a bigger fan this year of Aljamain Sterling for his previous fights against like Petr Yan and stuff like that. Like I kind of realized that Aljamain Sterling would probably backpack TJ Dillashaw, is how I felt before this fight even began. But I will say this though, like when TJ Dillashaw and Aljamain Sterling fought, like it was really unfortunate that TJ Dillashaw's shoulder started dislocating constantly, and like the way he survived that first round. If TJ Dillashaw were to have come back, I was going to respect TJ Dillashaw forever because of the fact that you know, he had his shoulder dislocated in the entire first round, and it was just the way that he kept going. That was all heart to me, you know. I mean, TJ Dillashaw was all heart, so I do respect TJ Dillashaw. Just that scandal kind of turned me off on that part as far as being a fan goes. And Aljamain Sterling ended up winning due to a technical knockout stoppage due to a shoulder dislocation on TJ Dillashaw's part. It was really unfortunate that TJ Dillashaw's injury kind of stopped that fight. But Aljamain Sterling ended up winning. I bet $20 on Aljamain Sterling to win, and he won, and I got $32 back for my $32.12 for my 20, and that's what happened with that one. And yeah, those are my results. But for the main event, though, here's the heartbreaker, man. Here's the heartbreaker. When it came to Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, I decided to stick with Charles Oliveira because, you know, like he won me over as a fan throughout his career, going up and down and all that stuff. Like, and after he won me over as a fan, I decided to stick with Charles Oliveira to the very end. And it's just too bad that the very end just so happened to be tonight, because Islam Makhachev ended up, you know, choking out Charles Oliveira. Sorry, I'm just a little bit heartbroken from it, man. But yeah, Islam Makhachev put Charles Oliveira's winning streak to an end, and he settled the question who would win in a fight. And tonight was you know, Islam Makhachev's night, and now Islam is the new champion, and that is what it is, you know. I have a feeling like maybe if if Charles Oliveira's title wasn't stripped from him, maybe he would have had a stronger edge going in on this fight, stuff like that. But you can't change what happened, man. That was a really good fight. Islam Makhachev is the real deal. And yeah, he's going to be champion for a long time, I feel. And the next fight for Islam Makhachev is Alexander Volkanovski in UFC 284. And I already said this, I'm going to bet $100 on Islam Makhachev to win that time. So when it comes to the bet between Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski, I'm risking a lot here, but I'm going to risk $100 for Islam Makhachev to win. I believe he'll do it, but we'll see what happens. You know, like, I feel like Alexander Volkanovski, like, he is awesome. He's a great fighter, absolutely. But going into this fight, I feel like he's going to be a big underdog for a variety of reasons. But at the same time, though, on any given night, anybody can win. And I'm calling for Islam Makhachev to be champion for quite a long time. And maybe Alexander Volkanovski should just stick with the belt that he has and stay in his weight class. But that's not how professional combat sports goes. When it comes to UFC 284, Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski, I'm putting $100 on Islam Makhachev. And that is what that is. Go Team Khabib. Respect to the great one who was in the octagon tonight, the great one being Khabib. And yeah, I told you Hezbollah in the corner would be good luck for Islam Makhachev. But respect to all the fighters tonight at UFC 280. And there was a fight in the crowd between someone from Team Khabib and Khamzat Chimaev. That was kind of funny subplot drama for tonight. But yeah, it was a really great pay-per-view overall, and I enjoyed spending my money on the pay-per-view, and I enjoyed gambling on the pay-per-view, and I look forward to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Okay, well, thanks for listening. Those are my results for betting on UFC 280. Everybody have a good night. Cheers, respect. Hey, what's up? How's it going? So, first of all, I just would like to apologize for this mustache. It's Movember. It'll be gone in like 22 days or whatever. End of the month, shaving it off. Never going back. Maybe next Movember we'll try that out. But hey, you know what I mean? Gotta defeat prostate cancer one mustache at a time. Is what it is. Moving on. Now let's see. UFC 281. I mostly am playing favorites. I do have one underdog bet, but for the most part, I'm mostly playing favorites. And let's dive right into it. For the main card, I'm going to bet $100 on the main event for the main card and all that stuff, you know, the way that goes. So when it comes to the first match, the lightweight bout between Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles, however you pronounce his name, I decided to put $20 on the favorite, Dan Hooker. So hopefully that works out. He's a slight favorite. When it comes to Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles, it's kind of a coin toss. Like, this is coin toss odds. I'm getting for this one here is minus 160 for Dan Hooker and plus 130 for Claudio Puelles. So that's pretty evenly matched, close to the chest. Claudio Puelles, the Peruvian, can totally pull it off if he really wants it. You know, who wants it more? We'll find out on Saturday night. I hope that Dan Hooker wins. I'm betting $20 on Dan Hooker to win. Now, when it comes to the second bout, the bantamweight bout between Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez, I love Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar's great. I get it. He's done so much for the sport over the past long years that he has been a part of the sport, all that stuff. But I feel like it's Chris Gutierrez's time to shine. Again, he is the slight favorite in this. Let me look at what my betting app says for his favoritism. Claudio, wait, no, that was the last one. Where is that freaking match? Hang on 1 second. Give me 1 second. Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. We got Chris Gutierrez on this betting app at minus 225 and Frankie Edgar at plus 185. I don't know why Chris Gutierrez is such a big favorite. Maybe age. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I feel like they're pretty closely evenly matched though. So again, this is like another coin toss, but I'm going to play the favorite here. I think it's Chris Gutierrez's time to shine, whereas Frankie Edgar is already a legend, you know, in his own. So good luck, Chris Gutierrez. I'm betting $20 on Chris Gutierrez. Okay, what do we have? That's like $40 so far. When it comes to Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler, I said it before, I said it again, coin toss. This is all fucking coin tosses. This fight, like on the UFC main site, they're giving Dustin Poirier minus 175, but they're giving Michael Chandler plus 150. To me, this one feels like it's a dead even match, you know, but I can see why Dustin Poirier is the favorite and all that stuff. I'm going to have to bet on the Poirier. I always bet on the Poirier, so I bet on Dustin Poirier to win. I'm going to bet $20 on Dustin Poirier to win. Okay, so maybe I'm spending $110 this UFC time around because the way my matches are coming, but $20 on Dustin Poirier to win, hopefully by knockout, TKO, kind of stoppage, whatever it takes. I hope that Poirier pulls it off, but Michael Chandler winning against Tony Ferguson this year. Michael Chandler almost has the knockout of the year with his kick towards Tony Ferguson's face. So, I mean, it really is a coin flip. I mean, Michael Chandler can catch Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, they're both so fucking skilled that it's one of those matches where it's just, you're not going to know until the night of, so I'm pretty excited for this one. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler is like one of my favorite fights of UFC 281, and I'm super glad to be buying the pay-per-view this time around. And, I'm super excited for it. Go Dustin Poirier, $20, Dustin Poirier to win. Now, when it comes to the women's strawweight title bout between Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili, I bet against Zhang Weili last time, and look what happened. But when it comes to Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili, this is hard to say, man. I'm going to put $10 on Carla Esparza to win. She is the massive underdog at about plus 300 here. I kind of don't understand why, but at the same time, I get it. I feel like Zhang Weili is going to rack in more points if Carla Esparza doesn't utilize on her wrestling abilities. But if Carla Esparza wrestles Zhang Weili to the ground with some luck, Carla Esparza can defend her title. However, she's coming off of the worst match of the year, which I consider the Rose Namajunas fight versus Carla Esparza. That was like one of the worst fights of the year. No offense. I get it. It's tactical, professional, and all that stuff. And like they were trying to be super tactical when it comes to Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. But that was a boring fight, man. But Carla Esparza coming off of a fight like that, and you mix that with Zhang Weili's past fights this year, like Zhang Weili is ready to throw. Like she's going to throw so many more punches and so many more kicks than Carla Esparza. It'll be almost a miracle if Carla Esparza wins this thing. But I am betting to win. I'm betting for Carla Esparza to utilize on her wrestling and win. It is a long shot, and that's why she is my underdog bet on this, a massive underdog bet on this. She is the massive underdog of the night. Go Carla Esparza. I'm betting $10 on Carla Esparza to win. So bet $10, I'll get back 40 if Carla Esparza wins. So that's a pretty big underdog bet. Go Carla Esparza. Congratulations on your new marriage and being, married and all that stuff since your last fucking UFC fight against Rose Namajunas. God, that was such a slow, boring fight. Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. Rose totally could have, if she was, she was scared, man. Rose Namajunas was scared in that fight. That's all there is to it. I get it. They're both so highly professional at this high level that you can't make one fucking slip up. I get it, but somebody had to risk it all that time. And just the fact that Carla Esparza won in that fight because of that one takedown and all that stuff, or two takedowns, however many takedowns it was just. That was the worst fight of the year. Okay, but yeah, Carla Esparza to win against Zhang Weili Saturday night, hopefully to defend her title. Good luck, Carla Esparza. Wrestle her down, hit Zhang Weili 100 fucking times in the face. Do it. You can do it. Good luck, Carla Esparza. Now, when it comes to the middleweight title bout between Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, if you look at my past betting plays that I've made, I've been on the side of Israel Adesanya, and I thought I would stay on that side, but after researching, I feel like it's Alex Pereira's time to shine. I feel like these are the two kinds of guys that they could have like a UFC trilogy in the long run and all that stuff. I feel like that's likely to happen. Again, it's like such a fucking coin toss. Like the odds are, the favorite currently is Israel Adesanya. On my betting app, he is at minus 210, and Alex Pereira is at plus 170. Now, what has made me kind of lean towards Alex Pereira winning is the fact that Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya have fought before in a different sport called kickboxing, and Alex Pereira ended up winning against Israel Adesanya. That is sort of what sends me towards Alex Pereira winning, and you mix that with Alex Pereira knocking out Sean Strickland and all of his other fights in the UFC and all that stuff. You mix all that, I feel like it's Alex Pereira's time to shine. But the way things are going, I like to watch that MMA pros pick and all that stuff. A lot of the pros are leaning towards Israel Adesanya to win and utilize on his wrestling for some reason. People were saying if he shows his wrestling, it's going to be fucking phenomenal, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I feel like Alex Pereira is going to catch Israel Adesanya at least once or twice and open up just enough room for him to capitalize on knocking Israel Adesanya out in one way or another. I really hope that happens. I'm praying to the gods of gambling right now that Alex Pereira wins Saturday night, but we'll see what happens. This is one of those fights where Israel Adesanya is kind of going into it with a redemption in mind, while Alex Pereira has already been there, done that. He's like, oh, I knocked out Israel Adesanya before. I'll do it again. So I know you add those qualities. I feel like Israel Adesanya is going to put up a good fight, but Alex Pereira is going to catch Israel Adesanya off guard. It's how I feel. That's just how I feel. And, after playing off of that, I decided to put $40 on Alex Pereira to win. And if I win that bet, $40 for Alex Pereira, I get $100 back. And it's not just about the money. I just feel like this is Alex Pereira's time to shine. He's got that one shot, one opportunity Eminem thing going on here. And I hope that Alex Pereira finishes the job on Saturday night at UFC 281. It's going to be fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Good luck to all the fighters, and especially good luck to Carla Esparza and Alex Pereira. But it's going to be a good night. The pay-per-view is going to be awesome. I'll be watching it right here. I'll throw on some headphones and, broadcast my live reaction, assuming the pay-per-view time is at 9 p.m. where I am, so that it's after work and I actually get to make it on time. Whereas the last time I bought the pay-per-view thinking it would be at 9 p.m. where I am at, but it ended up being at 1 p.m. where I'm at instead of, but this time around, hopefully I get to catch all of it live instead of watching the replay. But good luck Alex Pereira, good luck Carla Esparza, and good luck Dustin Poirier. Those are the three fighters that I am mostly excited for this pay-per-view around to see, to see who wins. It's really exciting. So Saturday night, we'll find out the answers to these questions, and I'll have my results posted for you a couple days afterwards. I hope I'm in the plus. Go Alex Pereira. If Alex Pereira wins, that covers all of the bets I make for this event, UFC 281. So there is that, but ultimately, I'm just hoping Alex Pereira uses all of his strength, all of his skills, all of everything, his entire heart, and puts it all into this one fucking fight and knocks out Israel Adesanya. But anything could happen. Go flip a coin. That's how these fights are. But I'm super excited for the last couple pay-per-views for this year, and I can't wait to tally it all up and see where I'm at. Hopefully I'll be in the blue instead of the red by the end of the year. But again, good luck Alex Pereira, good luck Carla Esparza, and Saturday night, it's going to be fucking awesome. I hope you all have your pay-per-view all bought and paid for and that you're ready to watch it too. Anyways, good luck again, Alex Pereira, and thanks for watching. Everybody have a good night. Those are my picks for UFC 281. Cheers, respect.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? So here are my betting results for UFC 281. When it came to Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles, I bet $20 on Dan Hooker, and here's what I got back. Pretty good. Thank you, Dan Hooker, for winning me a couple bucks. I was impressed by Carlos Puelles' takedowns at first. At first I was like, wow, a rolling tactical kind of takedown to grab his leg, and forget what it's called. There's a certain name for it already. But I was really impressed by the first couple of takedowns that Carlos Puelles tried to pull off. And, that didn't really work out in Carlos's favor. And Dan Hooker ended up winning with a couple of good teeps to the body of Carlos Puelles. So really good on Dan Hooker. TKO, stoppage due to kicks to the body. Amazing. Respect Dan Hooker. And when it came to Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez, it was sad to see, Frankie Edgar is a legend. It was kind of sad to see him go down that way because that was his last fight of his career, basically, is what he's going for. He's trying to retire, right? Now, who knows if he'll come back or not and, fight another fight, whatever. But, Chris Gutierrez ended up catching him with a knee to the head, and that really leveled out Frankie Edgar. So it was a rough way for Frankie Edgar to go out, but Frankie Edgar is a legend. I bet on Chris Gutierrez due to Frankie Edgar's age and all that stuff, respect to Frankie Edgar, and he is a legend. Just that time I was feeling Chris Gutierrez, and Gutierrez, sure enough, won me this much. Yeah, so that's a pretty good take. And, see, third fight, Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Dana White was calling that the fight of the night. Agreed. It was so back and forth, and that's how you win fight of the night, going back and forth like that. At 1 second it looked like Michael Chandler was going to win, at another second it looked like Dustin Poirier was going to win. I thought Dustin Poirier tapped for a second, but apparently Chandler was giving Dustin Poirier a fish hook, and Dustin Poirier was just trying to pull his fish hook out, and it kind of looked like a tap to me in the position that he was in. So, but anyways, Dustin Poirier ended up coming back. I guess that fish hook pissed him off or whatever it was. And he ended up choking out Chandler, which was amazing. So respect to Dustin Poirier for winning me this much. And then when it came to Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili, the odds makers really did well. They chose Zhang Weili as the favorite. And sure enough, who became the victor out of Zhang Weili versus Carla Esparza? Zhang Weili with a chokeout in a crucifix position against Carla Esparza. It was pretty awesome. Zhang Weili cost me $10. I only bet $10 on Carla Esparza because she was such an underdog. But yeah, respect to Zhang Weili for costing me $10. And then when it came to the main event, God, that was so fucking awesome. Israel Adesanya looked like he was ahead about maybe like 3 rounds to 1 when they went to round 5 kind of thing. And Alex Pereira, after receiving a really heartwarming speech from his coach in between rounds 4 and 5, ended up going out there and knocking out Israel Adesanya in round number 5. And I bet $40 on Alex Pereira, and Alex Pereira ended up winning me $100. So overall, I bet like 110, and I got back around like 195 or 196 or whatever it was. So as far as betting goes, UFC 281 was a success, and as far as entertainment goes, UFC 281 was definitely a success. I am happy to say that, what you call it, like, there's a new champion now. Hopefully Alex Pereira lasts as the champion, has a couple of good defenses and stuff like that. I think I'm going to kind of roll with Alex Pereira in regards to the next fight that he has. I'm probably going to bet on Alex Pereira to win, but we'll see who he's fighting and we'll go from there. But yes, UFC 281 was a success, both entertainment wise and betting wise. And I had a great time watching it and, filming my live reaction towards it. And I got to learn the technical term for what the fuck that roll that Carlos Puelles is doing. It was really cool until, he did it like 5 times, 6 times. After he did it too many times, it was, it was more points in favor of Dan Hooker, I believe. But yeah, it was a really good night overall. Respect to Alex Pereira wearing the what you call it, the war paint and stuff like that at the weigh-ins. I'm glad he won. Otherwise, would have made the war paint something to pick on from, the community and stuff like that today. But the fact that he won, they're not going to really pick on the fact that he did the war paint thing and all that stuff, right? But yeah, really mad respect though to the new champion. UFC 281 was awesome, and I ended up making $80+ in profit. Here it is. Here's my results. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I look forward to betting on UFC 282. I want to bet on Glover Teixeira, but my mind is leaning towards Yuri Prohaska. I'll see how I'm feeling around UFC 282, and then we'll go from there. Bet another $100 on 282, and then I'll add up all of my everything from UFC 270 all the way to 282, and see where I'm at, either in the blue or in the red. I think I'm in the blue, but we'll keep on keeping on either way. But thanks for watching my little betting show that I got going on here. But I'm going to compile these videos at the end of it, and I hope to be in the blue by the end of it. But go Glover Teixeira, UFC 282 coming up next. But yeah, cheers, respect, everybody, take care. Bye now.
Hello, America. Bernie Mac here. Okay, no, I'm just joking. So, Selkirk here with my UFC 282 bets. Ever since Yuri Prohaska got injured and the Glover Teixeira fight between him and Yuri and him, ever since that got canceled, I immediately kind of decided I'm not going to buy the pay-per-view this year. I'm just going to watch the highlights, the replays, and all that stuff. And then I get the the prelims on Fight Pass. So we're going to have fun watching the prelims and the highlights this pay-per-view around as far as that goes for 282. I placed a couple bets. I only placed 3 bets this time around, but I wouldn't mind going through a couple of the fights that I'm excited to see. Like, for example, the prelims, the main prelims. I did not bet on it, but I'm thinking about betting on it. Raul Rosas Jr. is against Jay Perrin, and I'm thinking about betting for Raul Rosas Jr. because he's, the youngest UFC fighter ever or whatever, some shit like that. And I want to get on board that hype train, if there's going to be any money to be made out of gambling on Raul Rosas Jr., now would be the time if he can pull it off. But he is still young and he still has a lot to learn, and it's going to be a tough battle for him against Jay Perrin. So I am excited about that main prelim fight tomorrow night. I'm thinking about betting on Raul Rosas Jr., but I'm not right now. I think I might add a bet tomorrow night. We'll see. But let's go to my bets for the main card. I have 3 bets on the main card. We'll start off with, we'll go through all the fights and I'll tell you which ones I'm betting on. So we got fight number 1, which is the featherweight bout, Bryce Mitchell versus Ilya Topuria. And I decided to bet $33 on Bryce Mitchell, who is the plus 115 underdog for this featherweight bout, which is surprising, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember if it's both of these fighters or if it's Jared Gordon and Paddy Pimblett, but one of those fights, they both have 5-fight win streaks, and I'm excited to see what happens. So Bryce Mitchell versus Ilya Topuria, that's going to be a really good fight, I believe. I really hope that Arkansas's Bryce Mitchell pulls it off and
gets the win, submission, whatever. His dealer's choice. Good luck, Bryce Mitchell. That's my first bet, $33. Now, when it comes to the middleweight bout between Darren Till versus Dricus du Plessis, I decided not to bet. I would bet on Darren Till, same name and all that stuff. But other than that, though, I didn't really decide to bet on this middleweight bout. The odds are saying that Dricus du Plessis is going to win. So, I mean, good luck to Darren Till, who is the underdog from the UK. But yeah, I didn't bet on that one. And I also didn't bet on this next one, which is the welterweight bout between Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Alex Morano. The reason is Santiago Ponzinibbio is who I would gamble on, but he is plus 310, which is a little bit too risky of an underdog for this particular fight. So that's the only reason I decided not to bet on the welterweight bout between Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Alex Morano, because Alex Morano is the minus 380 favorite. So I'd have to bet like 3.8 times in order to get my money, evened out or whatever it is. So, but I hope that Santiago Ponzinibbio, pulls it out though. I mean, like a trick up his sleeve, whatever happens. I hope he gets lucky, and I hope Santiago Ponzinibbio comes out with the win against Alex Moreno tomorrow. And when it comes to the co-main event, though, the lightweight bout, this one I did bet on. Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. I believe this one might be the one where they both have 5 win streaks in a row, so it's nice when like 2 fighters with really big win streaks come up against one another. It's always awesome when that happens. I'm hopping on board the Paddy Pimblett hype. I believe the Paddy Pimblett hype is real, and Saturday we're going to find out. UFC 282, we will find out if the Paddy Pimblett hype is real, and Jared Gordon is going to put him to the test. I read a couple of quotes saying Jared Gordon is going to expose the holes in Paddy Pimblett's MMA game, and we'll see if he does that. But I decided to bet like $34 on Paddy Pimblett, and I hope good luck him from the United Kingdom, minus 245 favorite. I don't get a lot of money back from this win, but if he wins, but at the same time, I love betting, I love the sport, so it's going to be nice to see hopefully Paddy Pimblett pull off a victory tomorrow. Good luck, Paddy Pimblett, in the co-main event, which is a really big opportunity for Paddy Pimblett, being so young and such a rising star. You know what I mean? Like, just to have the co-main event at the end of the year, that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. So it's too bad though that Geary and Glover dropped out, because our main event would have been our co-event, right? But anyways, I bet on Paddy Pimblett for the co-main event. Now, when it comes to the main event, the light heavyweight title bout between Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. I can barely pronounce his name, but before I did place a bet on Jan Blachowicz, it was against Rakic, I believe it was. I can't remember. I think that's what happened. I'm not too sure. I'll check it out later. I can't remember who I bet on. I'm pretty sure I bet on Jan though, and I got really lucky with that, because I think that was when Rakic had an injury or something like that, which was pretty crazy. Since Jan has already been champion though, like it's kind of like, oh, I've been here before, I've done that before. I feel like that kind of has a slight advantage for him to a certain extent, mindset wise. But I am betting $33 on Magomed Ankalaev to win the light heavyweight title bout tomorrow, championship. Okay, yeah, sorry, camera cut out there, but yeah, go Magomed Ankalaev. I have trouble pronouncing his Russian name there, but I believe that he's going to be the new champion tomorrow night. We shall see. I would just like to say to Yuri Prohaska, heal fast. I'm sorry that you have the worst shoulder injury in UFC history. It sucks, because I really wanted to see Glover Teixeira possibly win and then retire. Like, there was a rumor at the beginning of the year that Glover Teixeira was going to retire no matter what after this UFC 282 rematch between him and Yuri Prohaska. Like, there was a couple of rumors like that, and it would have been nice to see that, especially if Glover could get the title once again. But Glover has already agreed to fight whomever wins out of Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. So it'll either be nice to see Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira again, or Glover Teixeira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Either way, in the future, that's looking like a good fight. But UFC 282 is going to be a good one. It's definitely not going to be pay-per-view of the year, is how I feel, because of the main attraction getting canceled due to an injury, which, I mean, is part of the game. That is what it is. But those are my bets for UFC 282. So go Magomed Ankalaev, go Paddy Pimblett, and go Bryce Mitchell, putting $100 in total on those 3 fighters. And just for the hell of it, I might actually put $40 on Raul Rosas Jr. later. I might. I'll let you know in the results of my video for this particular bet later on. And then I'll make a compilation video because this is the end of the year. And I had a great year betting on pretty much every UFC this year. Like, I had a great time, and hopefully, we'll find out tomorrow night, though. Hopefully, by the end of tomorrow night, I'm in the blue instead of the red in regards to, making some money from gambling. But always keep it a game. And sports betting, I'm not expecting to become a millionaire on sports betting. I'm not really expecting to do that. That would be sweet, though. But that sports betting is for fun. It makes the sport more entertaining. And okay. I'm kind of rambling on now. But those are my bets for UFC 282. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the Paddy Pimblett hype, I believe it's real. Let's find out tomorrow night. Go, respect, UFC 282. Cheers. Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? So, quickly now, I'll share my bets for UFC 282, like the results that I got for the bets that I made. And then after that, I will share with you my UFC Fight Night 216 bets that I'm making, because I decided it's the end of the year. This is the last event for UFC for this year. And I've decided to, have some fun with this one. I'm going to come home tonight and watch the fights with a bucket of hot wings and enjoy myself as I bet on a couple of the fighters tonight with a couple of odd parlay bets as far as that goes for tonight's sporting events. So I'm pretty excited about tonight. But my UFC 282 results. I ended up only making 3 bets. I pulled out the bet of Ankalaev versus Blachowicz. I just had a weird feeling about that fight. I decided to pull that bet out. I originally bet 33 for Blachowicz versus Ankalaev, and then I pulled out my $33 and I spent it on something else. So I didn't end up betting on that one. But let's talk about the ones I did bet on. When it came to Jay Perrin versus Raul Rosas Jr., Raul Rosas Jr. ended up winning. I bet $40 on Raul and I got back $56. Now, the reason I bet on Raul Rosas Jr. is he's one of the youngest fighters ever in the UFC. And also when I saw the weigh-ins and stuff like that, I saw Dana White taking Rosas Jr. under his wing. And I feel like the UFC, even though they're running a business and all that, and they're eventually going to give him harder opponents, I feel like the UFC is kind of paving the way for Raul Rosas Jr. just a little bit. Dana White has his back because he's just a kid and he's looking out for this kid, is how I feel. So I feel like Raul Rosas Jr. is going to get a couple of easy fights before he gets really tested, and we will see what happens. But yeah, Raul ended up winning. That was fucking awesome. And then the second bet that I made was Ilya Topuria versus Bryce Mitchell. I ended up betting $33 on Bryce Mitchell because, I thought Bryce Mitchell was going to do it. I thought he was the underdog of the night, but nope. Ilya Topuria ended up winning, and respect to Ilya Topuria for taking my $33. Ouch. And then when it came to Jared Gordon versus Paddy Pimblett, if you've been, putting your ear to the ground listening to all of the uproar that happened, did Paddy Pimblett actually win it? I mean, yeah, the judges decided for Paddy Pimblett to win, but a lot of the fans think that Jared Gordon won and that a certain type of nepotism caused Paddy Pimblett to win that. But I ended up betting $34 on Paddy Pimblett, and Paddy Pimblett won. I got what did I get back here? Hang on one second. I gotta look at my results. I got back $46 from betting $34, which was, it was pretty decent. I was just betting on the hype for Paddy Pimblett to be real, and it's kind of real, but at the same time, the fact that the judges and the fans were kind of like, what the hell, judges, and stuff like that, it just kind of makes me kind of go, okay, well, next fight Paddy Pimblett has, you better pick it up a notch, or else the fans are gonna kind of turn a bit. But that was a little bit dramatic, I thought. And then as for the draw though, Ankalaev versus Blachowicz, I'm glad I pulled out of that bet. I originally bet $33 and then I pulled out of that bet and I spent my $33 elsewhere. But the fact that it became a draw seems pretty unreal. From the sounds of it, I don't know, man. It feels like favoritism, but at the same time, it's hard to say. Ankalaev is Russian, and then there's a war going on, Russia versus Ukraine. I just kind of felt like maybe, they didn't really want to give the championship to a Russian at this particular moment in time. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like that war has something to do with it, a side political kind of thing for it. I know that sometimes it happens, man. In the world of sports, sometimes, gambling fucks it up, and sometimes political things kind of messes everything up, so maybe that's what happened. That's why it was a draw, and Blachowicz was give him the title, give Ankalaev the title. Ankalaev beat me, come on, man. So when a fighter says that about another fighter, you gotta kind of take that to heart, because I think Ankalaev won, and so do a lot of people, but there's a lot of fucking
like destroyed hype around UFC 282. I didn't really want to buy the pay-per-view. I didn't buy the pay-per-view. I just watched the replays and all that shit because like I really wanted to see Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prohaska, and that's what I was looking for the end of the year. But yeah, that was my UFC 282 bets. I ended up on the plus right there, so that one worked out pretty good. But now let's talk about my UFC Fight Night 216 bets. I made a couple of preliminary bets. This one's a parlay bet when it came to Sergey Morozov versus Journey Newson and David Dvorak versus Manel Kape. I decided to put a $5 parlay bet on Kape and Morozov to win. So if Manel Kape and Sergey Morozov win their fights, then I get some money back from that $5 bet. Now when it came to Brian Battle versus Renat Dinov, I can't pronounce his name, I apologize. I bet $5 on Brian Battle. Now when it came to Rafa Garcia versus Hazer Mahashate, I do like Hazer Mahashate's chances here. Like he's a good underdog, I believe it is. But I decided to bet $5 on Rafa Garcia. Go Rafa Garcia. Now when it came to Said Yokub Kakramanov versus Said Nurmagomedov, I decided to, always bet on the Nurmagomedov. I believe that Nurmagomedov is the underdog of the night. I hope he's the lock. We'll see what happens though. Said Nurmagomedov is the underdog, and I decided to bet a big one on this one. Kind of, anyways, I decided to bet $30 on Said Nurmagomedov, who is the underdog. So go Said Nurmagomedov. Respect. Now we got another parlay bet coming up here. Jake Matthews versus Matt Semmelsberger and Corey McKenna versus Cheyenne Bildsmas. Can't pronounce their fucking names. I made a parlay bet for Corey McKenna and Jake Matthews to win. And the reason I decided to choose Jake Matthews is because he destroyed all of my Andre Fiallo hype. And go Jake Matthews and Corey McKenna. And that's all I bet on for the preliminary card today. And hopefully I get something back from that. We'll see. I'm mostly just rooting for Said Nurmagomedov for the preliminaries. Like as far as like my heart's in it, like Said Nurmagomedov is where my heart is for this preliminary card. But now let's go on to the main card. We're going to start with a couple of parlays here. I made the first parlay for the main card. We got Cody Brundage versus Michael Oleksiejczyk and then Drew Dober versus Bobby Green. I decided to make a parlay bet on Mikhail Oleksiejczyk and Drew Dober. So I bet $5 for a parlay for them. I get a couple bucks back. If both of them win their fights, we will see what happens. And then a second parlay bet for the main card. We have Alex Carreras versus Julian Erosa and Amir Albazi versus Alessandra Costa. Now, when it came to those two fights, even though I really wanted to bet on Bruce Leroy there, I ended up picking Julian Erosa to win against Bruce Leroy, and then I ended up picking Amir Albazi to win against Alessandro Costa. And I placed a $5 parlay bet on that one. Hopefully I get something back from that, but we'll see. Again, like these parlays are a bit riskier, but I'm only betting a little bit of micros. I'll put it all up at the end of the fight and post my results later. But then when it came to the co-main event, Damir Ismagulov versus Arman Sarukian, I decided to place $10 on Arman Sarukian, but the way their records are, it's amazing, man. Like Damir Ismagulov is like 24 wins and 1 losses, and Arman Sarukian is 18 wins, 3 losses. It's so hard to tell. This is such a coin flip. I don't know why Arman Sarukian is such a big favorite here, but at the same time, I get why Arman Sarukian is such a favorite here. But yeah, $10 on Arman Sarukian to win. Good luck, Arman. Now, when it comes to the main event, Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. This one's a tough one, man. This is definitely a coin flip. I love that term, coin flip. It's always a coin flip when it comes to sports betting, more or less. There's two people coming up against one another, or two teams coming up against one another. It's usually a coin flip, right, when it comes to sports betting. But I just have a feeling here, and whenever I play into the feeling, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. I remember I had a feeling about Andre Fiallo, and then Fiallo let me down. But sometimes though the feeling does work out. Like I had a feeling about Ngannou winning against Gain. That worked out. That was in 270. And this time for UFC Fight Night 216, Cannonier versus Strickland, I have a feeling about Jared Cannonier winning against Sean Strickland. But Sean Strickland does have a lot to prove after his KO from Alex Pereira. So having that much to prove might result in Sean Strickland picking it up a notch. And it's just really hard to tell who's going to win tonight. Both of them have pretty good records. And, if you were to compare the wins versus the losses, Sean Strickland has a higher win rate than Jared Cannonier, but I don't really think that's going to play too much into here. I feel like Jared Cannonier is going to win against Sean Strickland. So I decided to bet $26.75 on Jared Cannonier, because if I bet $26.75, if Jared Cannonier wins, then I get $50 back, pretty much exactly. So that's why I decided to place that bet, and I have a feeling about Jared Cannonier winning tonight. We shall see. Fight time starts in about 2 hours, I think it is. The early prelims. And good luck to all the fighters tonight. I will post my results for UFC 216 after tonight's fight night, and after that, though, I will post my year-end results, beginning from UFC 270 Ngannou versus Gane, all the way up to UFC Fight Night 216 Cannonier versus Strickland. I will let you know if I made competent bets or if I bet like a maniac by the end of the year. If I'm in the blue and I'm up plus money, then I made competent bet. I can't say it right now. I made good bets if I'm in the blue, is what I'm saying. And then if I'm in the red, this was my year of gambling in UFC as far as sports betting goes. Next year I'm going to tone it down a notch. I'm only going to really bet on the big fights, like Jones versus Ngannou. That's a big one. I'm betting on Jones. Makhachev versus Volkanovski. I'll be betting on Makhachev, but anything could happen. And let's focus on tonight, though. UFC Fight Night 216 Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. I'm really excited to see how this one goes down. I'm going to have a big bucket of hot wings next to me, and I'm going to enjoy the fight. It's the last UFC of the year, so let's do it, huh? Okay, so go Jared Cannonier. Respect. Everybody have a nice day. Have a wonderful Saturday. Take care.